We are the Lolocaust.
Welcome to We Are the Lolocaust.
Cool.
I hope you're recording all this.
Yeah.
Good. When you listen to it again, you'll remember how much of a schmuck you are.
Why?
Because you didn't want to share my running order.
You said you give me 20 quid.
I haven't got 20 quid.
Ever since you can remember, you have liked your games and toys. But now the governments of the world say they want to limit a choice. You've been quite good-natured, now you've taken quite enough. So now let's hear about it all from Bouncy, Ball and Duff. Bouncy, 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 ball and duff. Bouncy, ball and duff. They are gonna talk to you about lots of naughty stuff. Bouncy, ball and duff. Bouncy, ball and duff. If the game's illegal, they don't give a single shove. We'll tell you what they are, where they're banned, and why you can't give them a shove. Now let's hear about it all from Bouncy, 'cause we're Bouncy, Dalek, Mark and Duff. We don't know who you are, but we are the Lolocaust. We are the Lolocaust.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to We're Lolocaust, back at episode 13.
Baguette. Welcome to We Are the Lolocaust Baguette.
Well, it's a dirty baker's dozen,
I
so
suppose.
that would keep in tune.
You
theme.
implying the French are dirty?
They are.
Yeah.
Filthy. And not like hygienic.
Alright, calm down for Arj.
Although their toilets are. Yeah.
I've never studied that closely, to be fair.
No. So, yeah, welcome to the show. It's Rob and me, as always. This week, we're going to be talking about what we've been playing and doing in general.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to you about Mark and Dalek's Tubeblockers,
Yes.
which is just started and is already on the website. We'll talk more about that later. I'm going to be telling you, Rob, about how I was chatting up teenage girls.
Yep.
In a totally non-creepy way. It's going to be okay.
I get older, they stay the same.
The thing is, if you're recording a podcast, you almost know if I'm going to talk about what I've been up to with teenage girls this week, and I'm committing it to audio, it's obviously not going to be criminal. So that's all good.
Are we going to make a One Direction joke at this point?
I was going to, but a fifth of the joke is gone now, so it won't be funny. La 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 la. Then we're going to have Dalek talking about some contraband. The file is called Sex Talks About Contraband.
Christ, that could be anything.
I know. And we're not going to listen to it before the show. We'll listen to it when it goes out. As part of the show, we always put it on the table, don't we? Listen to it there and then. So that's.
I'm nervous about that. I've got to admit, if Dalek starts talking about contraband, and we haven't vetted this, we could all be liable.
It could be just him playing funky smugglers.
Yeah. I'm glad I made the Canary president of the Lolocaust organisation now, because I can blame it all on the president.
Then later on, we're going to be talking about our new feature section, called The Big Plate, which is an Alan Partridge reference.
Really?
Well, not everybody would get that.
That's
if you know
true.
Alan Partridge, you'd know it.
I
Interestingly,
think if they know Alan Partridge, they'd probably know us.
If you go onto YouTube and type...
No, that doesn't make sense.
Alan
That sounded incredibly
Partridge.
arrogant. Sorry.
Yeah, if you type Alan Partridge Big Plate, nobody's uploaded just that clip.
I am surprised at that.
The whole episode, because that was the creepy stalker guy, wasn't it, in that one?
Was that the one where he met with Graham Linehan and the Irish producers?
Yeah, I do believe so.
Sunday, bloody Sunday.
So if you haven't watched the amazing I'm Alan Partridge, then firstly, shame on you. Secondly, go onto Amazon, you can pick it for about £3.
Yeah.
Use the affiliate
Probably
link.
on Dave or UK Gold.
www.amazon.co.uk. We don't really have an affiliate link.com. And there's an episode where he's living in the Linton Travel Tavern.
That's the whole series, to be fair.
And there's he's basically, this episode, he's going to have an all-we-can-eat breakfast buffet.
Yep.
But usually they just give you an 8-inch
Tiny
plate.
little side plates.
And so in his documents bag, he's got a 12-inch plate. So it's Alan's Big Plate. You can actually buy that as a product as well.
It doesn't surprise me.
12-inch plate with Alan's Big Plate written on it. So basically, I just thought that would give us a little bit more content in that section.
We get an extra 4 inches in.
An extra 4 inches, and that makes a bloody lot of
It
difference.
does.
As my missus will attest.
Yeah.
5 inches is optimal. And then we're going to round it out with me ranting about Northamptonshire's police commissioner.
Yeah.
Who's not Commissioner Gordon from Batman. That's the most annoying thing.
Wow. Can't have everything, can you?
So yeah, so let's get on with the show.
Okay.
Insert a jingle.
Bouncy ball. He used to write his own jokes, but then he took an arrow to the knee.
I said that last week and then didn't insert a jingle. But I did keep the bit where we talked about it. I was going to put it in, but then we started making jokes about jingles.
Right.
And it felt like if I put the jingle in, I'd have to remove all that good banter. Proper bants.
Yeah, let's not go down that road.
So I left it in, but we will have had a jingle that time.
Okay.
So, what have you been up to this week?
I've watched a lot of films, but I've also been playing a brand new game, which has me very excited. Because if there was a game which was up my street, what would it be, Bouncy?
Colville Road Massacre.
Well, apart from that,
Well, that would be up your street. You clearly asked the wrong question.
I did. There.
I would say, is it something to do with ice hockey?
You would be correct to answer.
Yeah, that's not because it's on the running order.
Bouncy. Eastside Hockey Manager is making a return. Now, this is basically Football Manager, but for ice hockey.
Okay.
So it could literally not be more my jam unless Wayne Gretzky was in Fallout.
That would be amazing if Fallout 4
would.
comes out and there's an ice
Wayne
rink,
Gretzky
and
edition.
he's a ghoul just skating around in a figure of
He's
eight.
just decapitating super mutants with his stick. So yeah, it's return of Eastside Hockey Manager. It was officially announced today. It's on Steam Early Access.
Right.
So this
is available for anybody.
Yeah,
if they want to go.
$9.99 via the Early Access.
That sounds too professional.
Oh.
That was like we worked that out and we hadn't.
No, no.
That's scary.
We've never rehearsed anything in our life.
Christ. And
So-
it is available now, Robert.
It is available now. And as I said, it's available through the Early Access programme, so it's still a little rough around the edges because development work is going on at the moment still, but I think this is very much for them a chance to gauge interest.
Well, the $9.99 price point is a really good start.
Yeah, and a
Because
few people have commented on that.
in
and said,
comparison to, say, Football Manager, which is, 25-30 quid new?
at least, I would say, some places is more.
Some early access, I mean, even Goddess was $16.99, 20 quid. Wasteland 2 was 30, 40 quid at the time. So, I mean, to come out at a tenner is almost like the Minecraft model, wasn't it? Where they came out cheap while they worked.
To build some interest. I think that's what they're trying here because Eastside Hockey Manager, I think the first edition was in 2004. The last one came along in late 2006. But they canned it in 2007 because, although it had a kind of cult following, they just couldn't really sell it to the masses.
No.
So obviously you've got the production costs, but without the sales base that Football Manager offered them. So with no other way really at that time to promote it and push it out, they called time and put it on hiatus. But with the rise of Steam now, which they're obviously utilising here, and digital distribution, they're giving it another go. So it's quite exciting really because as a British hockey player, or was, this is quite key because there's a British team behind this. So it would be nice to see the game do well. I know the guys are pushing it really hard at the moment, trying to build interest during the early access phase because if they can, some of the key licenses, which I think they do really need to make it a success, like the NHL player rights, I mean, they're expensive. And I know how much they are, and they are big money.
Yeah.
And they need that, but obviously they need the support to say it's worth us spending this money to get it because it will help the game. So, yeah, I'm quite excited about that. And it is a little rough around the edges at the moment. I think they know that, but they have also improved a lot of the foibles from the older games. So they have made progress, and obviously that's an ongoing process, hopefully with fan feedback at the moment.
Right. So, I mean, at this point, at this juncture, I should offer a layman's question to you. But at the same time, the devil in me wants to ask one very specific question.
Right.
Is there going to be an update for this with Tim Westwood, the West Side Hockey Manager?
I doubt it.
No. That's probably for the best.
I think it might
that
be for the
shows
best.
that the team knows what they're doing.
Yep.
So it's essentially, I'm quite pleased that you're pleased because it could have been terrible. You could have been crying.
I could have been
because I know when you got the email about this, because you were here when you were activated on Steam, weren't you?
Yeah.
And you were taking I encouraged you to take pictures.
I've still
of
got
the
them.
code names.
I'll put them on the blog.
Project Out.
Project Ouch, which
Yeah.
Miles Jacobson, he sort of broke the news on Twitter, and there's a forum on Sports Interactive's, or sub forum on Sports Interactive's forums.
Yeah.
And he explained it's Project Ouch because that would be the noise he would make if he was hit by the puck. And let me assure you that it is from experience. So it was Project Ouch, but obviously it's now been fully realised as a new version of Eastside Hockey Manager. And as I said, it's SI Games and Sega who do the hugely popular Football Manager series. So if you're going to have companies doing a sports management simulator, you probably want them, I think, to be fair.
Yeah, that's good. Well, hopefully it gets, a lot of support and a lot of interest, and then they'll be able to make it what it is. Now, in terms of sort of the longer term...
The longevity of it.
Yeah,
Is that what you're looking at?
I mean, from my point of view, obviously, with the Football Manager, you've got tournaments and leagues.
Yep.
Is that exactly the same with this? Would
Yep.
you still have? I mean, is it reflective of real tournaments and leagues, or
Yeah,
is it
they've got
just a basic?
11 leagues at the moment,
Right.
spread across North America and Europe. Mostly the major ones. You've got the NHL, the American Hockey League, the Swedish Elite League, the Continental Hockey League in Russia, which is the biggest one in Europe.
Okay.
They've said they're going to add leagues to it as they go along.
That's good.
So it might mean you see the British Elite League in it again. We did in older versions of the game in the mid-noughties. Now, the other thing they have opened up a lot more this time, which again is kind of in keeping with Football Manager, is a lot more customisable for the wider community.
Okay.
Because you see a lot of people, especially with the Steam Workshop,
Yeah.
putting Football Manager mods on there. You can buy them or they're free or whatever. There's people updating the databases. They'll do the real world transfer updates and push it out to people and say, here you go, enjoy. Face packs, logo packs, all that sort of stuff. And they've opened that up a lot more because the old Eastside Hockey Managers were quite hard coded.
Right.
There wasn't a lot you could do with it. Whereas now, and you've watched me do a few of them tonight while you're getting ready, you can apply these mods. So even though the early access edition is unlicensed, so you've got, Johnny Hockey Stick playing the centre for the Long Islanders instead of the New York Islanders, you can update all that. So you've got the New York Islanders with their captain John Tavares and things like that. So I think that's a big step forward to not only building a community, which is important for a game like this. If you look at Football Manager, there's loads of websites based around Football Manager.
Yeah.
You've got things like Sort It Out, SI, FM base. I frequent these forums because I look for the logos and the picture packs. So to build that sense of community is a big step forward, I think, especially at this juncture where it is a bit of a mind screw playing this game, knowing who it should be and knowing who the team should be, but having these made up names. So I think for passionate fans, being able to get those mods is going to be key, and the ability they're not too difficult to install. Once you've got your head around the first one, kind of the same with Football Manager. Once you get your head around the first one, you go, oh, this is actually pretty easy. Okay. And you work out how to do it. So
that would also help them in the light of not having the license. Make it appealing to people. Yeah. Because they're obviously not saying, look, go out and get them.
I think they're very aware that this community, this modification community, has sprung up around Football Manager.
Yeah.
So it would be, I don't want to say false of them. I can't think of the right word, but to ignore it would be folly. Perhaps that's the best way to put it, because it is such a strong part of the Football Manager community. I know I keep drawing to comparison, but I have to because they run. They're the same people. Yeah. The feel of the new Eastside Hockey Manager is like one of the older Football Manager games from sort of the late noughties.
Well, it's the same as drawing a comparison between FIFA 95 and NHL 95. So it's actually the same game, but with slight variances.
Exactly,
make it a different sport.
So but they've kind of seized into that. As I said, it's a great way to build a community, I think, because there's already. I didn't even realise this. I used to play the game quite a lot. There's already some websites dedicated to it. The Blue Line is where I got my mods from for this early access edition, and that's been going for several years. I never realised it was there. So obviously, they're now starting to get new traffic to their sites with this news. So it's a shot in the arm for the community, and as I said, it's quite a positive thing, like for British gaming.
Yeah, oh no,
because
certainly.
British ice hockey is tiny, tiny. It's not a swamp as much as it, It's so it's a good thing for the British gaming, for the sport here and the sport in general. Because some of the guys I write, or I say work with for sites in North America, used to play it.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, cool, it's coming back. And so it's not just a lot of British people going, yay, it's coming back. And there's this very tiny cult on this tiny hockey island. There's people the other side of the pond as well who are looking forward to seeing how this pans out. So.
Excellent. Well, you'll have to fill us in next week how you get on with it a bit more, because you'll have a bit more time with it.
Yep, especially now it's officially released and all the proper information's out there. It's been a little bit covert. I've been lucky enough to have an early access version, so I've sort of had a week of prodding about, but now it's all officially out there and the guys can talk about it properly at Sega and SI. Hopefully we'll have more information, and I'm hoping, if I can, to catch up with James Charles from Sega, who's had a big part in getting this off the ground. So.
Excellent. Well, we should look forward to that. Right? I've been playing Stick It to the Man on Xbox One.
Any good?
Which, it's really good. It's one of those games, it's one of those downloadable indie developed games. Another one from Scandinavia. I think this one's from Sweden. Which, I don't know if it was you I had a conversation with, where a lot of my favourite games ever have all come from the same...
I think we talked about it on an episode a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and so every time now I enjoy a game, I try and find out who it is, and then I'll either message them, or I'll write a tweet, but I'll put the company's name in. Because I think it's important that people understand that you play this game on your Xbox, but this isn't a Microsoft game. This is a small team of people in wherever. And so I like to try and give them the credit, or give them a little chance of exposure, which is always, I think it's nice. If you enjoy something, you should enjoy it. So, yeah, essentially you are a bloke who works in a hard hat testing facility.
Yeah.
And it's basically just objects being dropped on you. Something drops from outer space. You wake up, you've got a very sore head, and suddenly there's a giant pink hand sticking out the top of your head, which, when it touches other people, it can read their mind.
Okay.
And it can if people are thinking about something, a little thought bubble will come up. So if I say I was thinking about pork pie, which I really am right now, you could use the hand
so well
to rip that pork pie out, and then use that like a sticker on another character. So it's a bit like a kind of point and click an adventure game. Platform based, puzzle based, incredibly funny. Everything's in its world's made out of like cardboard, so it's got a look similar to... I say similar to Little Big Planet, but all the characters are two-dimensional as well. But yeah, very, very funny. And I played it when it first came out. I think it may have been free Game with Gold at one point, or I bought it. I'd like to think I bought it, because I do try to. And I just didn't get the time to sit down with it. Only a 6-hour game. But over the course of the week, absolutely rinsed through, and I couldn't have enjoyed it more if I tried. It was just very well written.
Yeah.
With a puzzle game, the puzzle element has to be good, but the humour has to carry it.
Yeah.
Because a puzzle game, by its kind of design, is quite standard. You know, it's like, take that object to there.
Yeah.
Well, Monkey Island made it good by being very obscure and very well written.
Yeah.
This is as good as Monkey Island for me. That's high praise.
Definitely.
I know some people will go, whoa, hang on, what are you doing? It's definitely better than Broken Age, which is the new Double Fine Adventure game. Or at least better than the first part, because I haven't played the second yet. But yeah, it's just great fun. So if anybody's got it on the hard drive or thinking about getting it, I know it's on PS4, possibly on the Vita as well, because they do tend to do cross-buy on those. But yeah, I couldn't recommend it higher if I tried.
I always struggled with indie games, or trying to find indie games on the 360 marketplace.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to know which ones are actually any good, because some of them will sell well, sell is the wrong word, because they were free for a period.
Yeah.
A lot of copies are moved, so it gets into the popular category. But when you actually boil it down, it's rubbish, but a lot of people picked it up because it was free.
Yeah.
Played it for an hour, went, this is rubbish, and never played again.
Yeah.
But Xbox have gone, popular, you're kind of bending the rules a bit there.
Yeah.
You know, free kind of warps things a little bit.
Well, the Xbox Live indie marketplace, as it was on the 360, wasn't really what it should have been. Unfortunately, what it gave people was a free, self-managing community. So the idea was anyone could put a game out. I think the minimum you could charge, you could make it free, and it was like 60p or something like that. So people were doing like they do with the app stores. They make a crap game with a funny name.
Yeah.
Or be like, oh, do this. And it'd be like, Baby Popper. And you'd fire a baby out of a cannon. And people go, oh, that's funny. And they'd buy it, and you could get quite a lot. There's a company called Silver Dollar Games that just made games that cost $1. and they were interesting, to say the least, but they weren't great.
Yeah.
So I did play a few, but then you kind of got to this next step where the indie game industry really took off with games like Braid and Super Meat Boy, where you kind of the production values, even though they're not expensively produced, you can see there's a lot more care and attention gone in.
Yeah.
And so then that's the standard. This is where the standard for Stick It to the Man is. That's on that level.
Yeah.
This is a highly polished
I
game.
think I found with those is that they kind of got shunted into how can I describe almost like a premium section. Like I think they got shunted to the arcade section.
Yeah, they were arcade.
This is where it becomes difficult because a lot of the arcade games, because they then become popular. Well, maybe the price goes up, or I'm looking kind of like for a cheap thrill, literally like a £1-2 thriller, and there's so seldom few of them, or it's so difficult to find them. So to find something which is cost effective, I can't feel like for a better term.
I mean, we talked about with Valiant Hearts, which is an independently made game using Ubisoft's frame art. So that we said, it is a cost, but as I've always argued about apps, so if I want to buy an app on the iPad, and it's like, say it's a game that I could buy on a console, say XCOM for example, the iPad version of XCOM is pretty much the console version of XCOM. Well, I wouldn't expect that to be 69p or 89p or whatever the minimum is now. Right? I would expect that to be a £5 game. Yeah. And it did come out about $6.99, and people were like, that's far too expensive. It's a bloody 100-hour game that you can take away with you. There just seems to be this skewed logic that app means cheap, indie means cheap. And it's what happens is you can have cheap apps, but very often they're either going to be ad sponsored, which means that you're buying something that's then just pumping ads into you all the time, or it's an established brand that doesn't need to have lots of adverts, or have a microtransaction payment, which will work because on the scale at which they'll sell it. That's what they're like selling the Angry Birds franchise. They can make a really good game, give it away for free, because they know premium currency and stuff will always
generate them.
Yeah. And then you get a game like Stick It to the Man, which is made by a small team in Stockholm, I believe, and that's I think about $11.99 in my place. Now for me, that's not a lot of money for a good game. Like, okay, it's only 6 hours, but so was The Order on PS4, and that's a £50 game. Now, admittedly, you could sell that. Yeah. I couldn't sell Stick It to the Man. But then, Stick It to the Man, I would go back to, because I enjoyed it, and I thought it was funny, and I'd like to go. And there's a few achievements I've missed, so I will go back and do that. But the difference here between the Xbox One's indie offering and kind of the Xbox 360, the 360 had the Indie Games Arcade, which was separate. Yeah. This one, they've now got something called ID at Xbox, which allows indie developers to publish onto their sort of platform following certain guidelines. But what that means is now there's a certain quality control. So whereas the last one was self-regulatory, so if there's objectionable content...
And there wasn't a lot of quality control.
No, but it was more if it's something massively offensive, which we'll be talking about later. The community could say, no, report this, and it would be removed. But it allowed people to be creative and make whatever game they want to make. And games like that, Mount Your Friends, if you've ever seen that, where you just sort of have a very wobbly person you then mount on top. And it's basically like a sexy Tetris. That's basically the same. But that started off in this indie marketplace. It can be a brilliant kind of solution for making them. But like you said, the problem is there's a dearth of bad games that the good ones don't float to the top because they can't have been held down by something else. So by giving it this proper release, it then gives it the credit and the kudos, but also kind of almost like a stamp of approval to say, look, this is this good. Yeah. We're putting it in our marketplace, and it happened with Braid, it happened with Super Meat Boy, and they're respected games. Yeah. But people wouldn't necessarily call them indie games if you were just to look at them, because they assume that if it's on Microsoft's marketplace, therefore it can't possibly be completely independent. There's a difference between independently produced and independently distributed or published, and you need a publisher. Yeah. So it's like I say, I was very pleased to get hold of it and go through. Similarly, Dark Echo on iOS, which is the App Store's free game of the week, I believe. It used to be $1.99 or thereabouts for British pricing. He's available on Android as well at a cost. I wrote a review of this for the website, so if you haven't seen that, jump on the blog. But it's a ridiculously good idea for a game. I don't know if you've read through the review.
I've flicked through it. I tried to read it while I was at work, but it never worked well.
Essentially, it puts you in the role of being Daredevil.
Yeah.
And that's kind of you're not Daredevil. That sounds bad. It puts you in the role of a character who uses their senses like what Daredevil does.
Okay.
So you're in
like Daredevil.
Completely black screen, apart from your feet. If you hold and let go, you stamp your foot, and it sends out lines of sound, which will rebound off of any solid surface and then ricochet around. So that's how you work out what room you're in. Mm-hmm. Does the corridor go off to the right or the left? And it's all top down. So all white is sound, all blue is water, yellow are switches you have to walk over to open any doors, and red are threats or enemies. Okay. And it's incredibly tense and scary. Yeah. Because there's nothing, and the louder noises you make, the more you'll attract an enemy. So then you have this option where you can just sort of lightly tap, and you'll tiptoe, but you don't make any sound. Okay. So you're not generating any sight. So you don't know what you're walking towards slowly. And the only way to find out is to make a noise, but if you make a noise, you can attract it. Yep. And that's brilliant.
That does actually sound like a great concept for a game. It's so ridiculously simple, yet effective.
Yeah, it's... when I first started it, I thought, another one of these. Put your headphones on, it's going to be some funny, creepy noises. And then an hour later, I realised I hadn't done any work. Because I was just sweating, trying to work my way around his map, and I couldn't work out what I was doing. It's tense and it's scary because you can't see anything. Yeah. And like most games, you can kind of use a certain amount of layman's logic and say, well, I know that I'm in a room with 3 corridors. If I go down that one, oh no, it's dead end. Go down this one, dead end. Go down that one, there's a door. With this, you don't know by looking down the corridor. You have nothing other than here's this ricochet of sound that goes off and then fades off. And sometimes you can go down a corridor and it'll collapse. So it will seem seem open, and then suddenly that's closed. Whatever was behind you has now got you. Right. It's remarkable. Yeah, absolutely remarkable.
That sounds like a great concept. So I'll have to look that one up. I think if it's game of the week. So.
Like I said, at the moment it's completely free. Even at £2, absolutely worth it. I'm tempted to buy it for my kids on Android just to chuck them some money that way because I think the kids would really like it as well. But yeah, it's Dark Echo and highly, highly recommended. And if you want some more thoughts on that, jump on the review. So you've been football managing as well?
Yeah,
as normal.
Continuing my season with Borussia Dortmund. Doing quite well. I mean, what was the UEFA Cup? It's now the Europa League. Stupid name, but Europa League quarter-final. Right. I was doing pretty well in the league, but I've dropped to 4th now. But I am in the German Cup final.
And
so,
distracted by the exciting world of hockey.
Exactly.
So, you're not going to give it your all now, are you?
No.
So,
one thing I do like, because I've mentioned before, I play a slightly older version of the game. I still play 2010, which is my favourite iteration. So there's players on there who are very young, of course, in that database, who are now massive superstars. So the team I've got is kind of bizarre. Like James Rodriguez, who went to Madrid for ridiculous amounts of money in the summer, and Oscar, who's now a massive star for Chelsea and things. I just find that amusing. It never fails to make me smile going, I've got Oscar and Rodriguez and Mandzukic and all these people. But yeah, that's just my simple mind being kept happy by simple things. But we've also been playing Tap Tap, as have you.
We both have, yeah. The superhero has hit the last comic chapter is finished. We're now into the finale. Yep. Which has got a boss fight, a final boss fight in a freemium game that doesn't end. Oh, brilliant. Yeah. I loved it. When it started, I was like, wait, what? A boss? Oh my God. And then when I realised, because I sent everybody to go and fight it, and I just thought they were just going to go in. Oh no. Then you've got them throwing and hitting it, and I love it. For people who haven't got that far or don't really haven't been playing, but to be honest, if you've not been playing, you probably don't care. Yeah. But we're going to tell you anyway.
I think that's probably the case with any game we discuss.
The storyline has gone that Radioactive Man has been killed. Yep. Fallout Boy has then sort of set up a superhero league as such. And then they brought in different superheroes and villains from the Simpsons universe, which has been quite cool. But now they've kind of built a tribute to Radioactive Man.
Yep, a statue.
Then has come to life and is now attacking the city with radiation and what have you. So, it's looking like the ghost of Radioactive Man has possessed this statue, which is brilliant. I've finished it. You haven't yet.
Not quite. I'm on to must be the last phase.
I won't spoil the amazing ending. You do get a little animation, like a proper cartoony thing. And it's giving you a lot of good free context. Like we discussed privately, I think, that the last chapter hadn't shown what the items were going to be.
No.
And I said maybe it's going to be premium currency stuff. Because they gave stuff away, they gave donuts away on St Patrick's Day.
Yep.
Which seemed to be leading towards, normally they'll give you some and then charge you 120 quid for something.
Yeah.
Or 120 donuts, but that can be 120 quid if you don't spend wisely.
Yeah.
And so then we've got Radioactive Man's car.
Yep.
Radioactive Man's mansion, but not Radioactive Man, obviously. No. Bruce Wayne type alter ego, plus the statue.
Yep.
Plus potentially a new thing at the end.
Yep.
I was really pleased because they weren't expensive either. It wasn't like £1 million item or something you needed to do hours and hours and just keep signing in. It's just the last week. I finished it all yesterday, so it's a day and a half.
Yeah.
I used the 20 minutes I had to just speed up some of the missions because I assumed it would finish quite quick. It was like, and now do this, and then do this, and then do this. I was like, oh. All right.
So they've done that, but none of it feels like a monster chore, which is nice. And that's been the nice thing about this whole saga. Now, I'm not going to lie, I needed like an extra 12 hours, and I'd have had the Collider as well.
Right.
Because he was the last thing of the last chapter. Literally another 12 hours, and I would have had enough to buy the Zenith City shop front, which was triggered by the Collector, which is, of course, comic book then. Or comic book guy, sorry. So another 12 hours, and I'd had all the bits I needed just to get everything. So that was just a personal frustration. But again, that's just because I didn't have the time to log in. And
because we were looking at that, I sent you that calendar, didn't I? Of rough ideas.
I think I was ahead, and then I went back to work, and I fell behind quite quickly.
I was behind on having the handcuffs to get the.
So that's why I needed 2 handcuffs.
Yeah, but it's the only thing you can't really speed up because if you miss releasing a convict, then that's 8 hours really wasted.
Yeah.
And you can't speed that up. There's nothing you can do about that. It's not a random drop. So I got the Collider with plenty of time to go. He was a good character. You've not missed huge amounts.
No.
Mostly it's him sabotaging Dr. Colossus's stuff. And
But then I did have Hank Scorpio.
Yes.
Or have got Hank Scorpio.
Which I'm incredibly jealous about, the fact that you had the two arguing.
Yeah, it wasn't that good though.
No. I didn't expect it to be much more than a little bit, but still, it's nice to have
some
sort of extra.
It was a disappointing little bit. That was the sad thing.
Well, the Collider, basically, Dr. Colossus is working on a machine that makes everything turn into chicken, and so it's called the Pult Ray.
Ooh.
And
see what they did there.
Yeah, so that was basically sabotaging that machine, which was quite good. But yeah, the whole event I think has been balanced well.
Yeah, it has.
It's been fair. I mean, as we both said, if you're busy, you're not going to be able to play these games to their full. No. But that's not the game's fault. These are made for people.
It's your fault for having a job and a family.
Well, it is that sort of thing that sometimes with some of these games you can just dip in the morning, dip in the evening. Yeah. This one you need a little bit more time, but you've got to, somebody's got to give. And this one's caught my attention a lot more than the Family Guy one, which a lot of people messaged me saying, you haven't been tweeting about it. Why haven't you been tweeting about it? Basically, it's Star Trek themed.
Yes, Emma's been playing it.
And I couldn't care less. I haven't touched it since it started.
No?
I don't really like Star Trek that much. And
can't win them all.
I don't want to be wasting time I could have been on Tapped Out on an act with a theme that I don't care about, because what's going to happen is I'm going to then be drawn into doing these missions, getting these characters, more bloody characters walking around my town that I don't really want, that don't do anything of any benefit. So now this event's finished, I will load it up and have a go, but it just goes to show how much difference a theme that works can make. Yeah. So that was good. But we'll talk about obviously our final thoughts on that once we've both got through the final stage. Yeah, but it's
as we said, it's been balanced pretty well.
Yeah.
So
well, I sent
them for that.
I sent an email to them to say I really appreciate the balancing and stuff on this, because I thought if they don't get that sort of feedback. Because they'll get a lot of complaints about everything. Like people will be complaining, if I didn't have time to get the Collider, or blah, 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 blah. Well, the fact is, I haven't played this like a monster. and I'm busy, but I managed to just scrape through
Yeah.
a few hours left. So it wasn't like I was massively nerdy into it. So I just thought I'd give him a bit of feedback, which was good. Destiny.
It's usual fare for me, to be
Usual.
fair. I was talking to one of the chaps at work about today, 'cause he's got an Xbox 360 as well.
Yeah.
He did have a PlayStation 3, but he sold that because he just said, I'm not playing it, so sort of dead weight. But he has been playing Dragon Age. He says he thinks he's near the end, as much as you can get near the end of something like Dragon Age. And he was talking about Destiny and whether he should buy it or wait. And we just had a little conversation, and he said obviously he's seen a lot of differing viewpoints. And I said, well, it is that kind of game, because they built it up to be this certain thing, but it's probably not what what Bungie built it up to be. But it's a game, once it gets under your skin, it is very addictive. And
Yeah.
as we've seen pretty much on a weekly basis, it's among my what have I played, because, you know, as I've mentioned before, I play with the flares. So we've got our little trio, we can do the strikes. There's a new Nightfall strike every week, so there's kind of almost new content-ish, in a very loose sense, every week. A new challenge almost.
Yeah.
So we can do that together, and you can dip in and dip out. You know, occasionally play on my own. I must admit, less so. If they're not on, I don't tend to play it. I'll play something else. But it is a very addictive game. But I can also see why other people have been switched off to it.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it at length several times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've dipped out of it again after getting the limited edition version. I will go back to it, but I've been playing LEGO The Hobbit.
Yes. So the last LEGO game I would have played was Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Okay.
So I'm
Quite a while.
a little bit behind, shall we say? But
Well, it's a shame the Games of Gold rumours about having 4 free SL360 LEGO games weren't true. But yeah, LEGO Hobbit is essentially a follow-on in terms of design from the LEGO Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
Now, you'd quite like LEGO Lord of the Rings because it mixes the LEGO games with their standard gameplay with Skyrim.
Yep.
In the sense that instead of having level to level, you have a big map of Middle-earth that you can run around, pick up quests. There are characters who wait in locations, you have to take them items. There's certain characters can interact with certain environments to get.
a pretty standard LEGO.
Pretty standard LEGO game, but it plays like an RPG. More so than the previous games, which were just standard, there's your level, that's that, there's your level.
Congratulations, you have finished.
Yeah, and this is more, you can wander around different areas of Middle-earth, which was good. Now with The Hobbit, I haven't got a huge way through so far, because I'm basically trying not to do all the story missions yet. I'm just running around the Shire.
Okay.
And there's lots of little missions I can do, and I can talk to different hobbits, and they say, I've lost all my goats, can you get my goats? And I'm riding goats around, and it's good fun.
Yep.
Me and my son saw there was a little hobbit sleeping on the little bridge. Yeah, a little bridge over the stream in Shire. That's in the game. And he's sleeping on the wall. And if you are so inclined, you can jump next to him and nudge him into the water. Doesn't do anything. Doesn't penalise you. We spent about 10 minutes just repeatedly pushing him into the river. Says more about us, maybe.
I think it does.
But the point is that's in the game.
Let's push that midget into a river.
They allowed that to be a thing. It wasn't just like you couldn't interact. If you jump near him, he'll fall in the water and then reset and then lay back down.
But again, that's very much in keeping with where the LEGO games have gone, I think.
Oh, exactly. The gameplay has changed another distinct step as well. So before, you would get things like... I think probably the most complex puzzles you would get very often were bring this item here, get another item. When you've got all 3 items, you can make something. This one, you've got a resource mechanic.
Okay.
So because you're the dwarves, it makes sense for them to craft things, because that's what dwarves do.
Yep.
So you have these areas where if you smash that box, you'll get 10 planks of wood.
Okay.
Or you'll get 10 lumps of gold. And you'll go to certain areas, let's say you'll have like a shopping list of you need 10 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these. If you've got them, you'll do a little animation where you have to like do a kind of press the button in time to the rhythm.
Yep.
And if you do it right, they've got the thing up, a massive great hammer clamps down on it, and they've made whatever item they need to progress.
Yep.
Which is a kind of cool little add-on.
Yeah, mini game.
And at the same time, that resource collection kind of replaces the studs a little bit, in the sense that very often you'd smash something, a load of studs come out. Now, studs come out, but you get these resources, so you have to then think, well, actually, if I walk out this area and don't smash these barrels, I might be missing some resources that will help me later on.
Yeah.
So it gives you a little bit extra to do level to level. You can also get the dwarves and like stack them on top of each other. So if there's a big door, put one on, and then he'll grab it and swing his mate on with his hammer, and they'll smash through. If there's a big gap, some of them have got like a grappling hook, so he'll throw a rope up. You can swing, then you hit yellow to change to another character, and jump on and hang on the bottom, and then swing off.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of focus on the cop. It reminded me a lot of the Lost Vikings and Mickey and Donald World of Illusion. Okay. That kind of co-op gameplay. I wished I'd played it more two-player than just passing the controller back to my kid, because I think that would have been perfect. Like, as a co-op game, it is, as far as I can tell, perfect.
Yeah.
The single player is kind of looking at you going, why are you playing this on your own? It's a co-op game, play together, why not? But yeah, visually beautiful. It's a Lego game, so it can only get so pretty. But as they go, I just thought it was worth trying. Now, the reason I put it off until now was there was a lot of talk about when the last Hobbit film came out, they were going to do DLC, which would add the events of the film into the game. That hasn't happened, and there's been no mention of it as far as I can tell at all. So I thought, well, I'm not going to wait anymore. I'm going to play these, because I still haven't seen the third film yet.
Okay.
So I thought if I play the games, I've watched the films, then the new film's out April 20th, so I'll finish the game, and I can watch the last film. And they might do it after the DVD release, or they might just come up with a complete edition or something and try and get money out of me, the swines.
Wow.
So, yeah, again, I shall talk more about it next week, but I put a couple of hours in just dossing around and having fun. What I can say is I've just been sent a message, which is quite exciting. Homefront, do you ever play that?
I didn't actually know. It interested me, but I never got around to playing it for whatever reason.
It was a good game. It kind of, it was good. I enjoyed it. Well, the new one's on the way, Homefront the Revolution. Dambuster Studios, which is a part of Deep Silver, who are developing it, are running a thing saying, become a video game character and earn £50. Okay. They're based in Nottingham.
Right.
If you're willing to travel to them and apply, obviously first, they will scan you in. It takes half an hour. They'll give you 50 quid and you leave. And you've got a year. They're going to be doing this all year. Okay. They basically want people to go in and become NPC characters in the background of Philadelphia.
Right.
So we could potentially go to Nottingham, have our faces scanned, and then people could be shooting us in the face.
I mean, I know Nottingham's bad for gun crime, but...
Yeah, there is that. I mean, the only thing that worries me is beards.
Okay.
Because I know quite a lot about facial scanning in games.
Yep.
And beards always tend to be a slight issue. So you'd be alright, because yours is quite tightly cropped. Whereas mine's getting a bit like, where does it end and my face begin?
Well, no one really knows.
No one knows, no. So, I think we're going to look into this and see what happens. We can report back as it goes. If anybody else is interested, if you Google Homefront Revolution scan, I think it should come up straight away. But it says, you'll be asked to sit in front of cameras and have a series of photos taken of your face while you make a series of expressions. Smile, mouth open, angry. I don't think mouth open is an expression, really, is it?
No.
Not really expressing anything, is it? Just like...
a gog.
So, yeah. So, no, you have to be 18, though. That's the only thing. Probably for the
I think
best.
we both qualify for that.
Because I wouldn't want necessarily somebody go around shooting a load of kids. Or, could you imagine a kid's head on a giant alien? It would look like the Goomba from the Mario Bros. Movie, wouldn't it?
Or vice versa.
Yeah, or vice versa. Or with Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So, thanks to Paul for sending that over. That's Paul Haddocken. He's the shoe shop man. If you ever heard me talk about shoe shop man before, that's him.
I saw him hanging about in the street the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah.
He's a bit of a ruffian. So, Tubeblockers is out. That's a thing now.
It's a thing now.
That's an interesting name. So it's basically a YouTube web series, like video series. It's been put together by Silicam and Dalek, or Mark and Dalek. And they've put episode 1 out, which is a little bit rough around the edges. They're working on the formatting and the kind of putting together the editing and stuff.
Well, so are we.
Well, that's it. I mean, nothing works straight off the bat. But it has nice little 2 of our logos, and then their little faces, sort of chatting about Hideo Kojima, or Kojima, whatever it was that Mark pronounces it. I can't remember who it was.
He likes to have a little flourish.
Dalek does a good job of bringing him up on it, talking like a cockney. And Yeah, because Hideo Kojima may be leaving Konami, or has left
It's all a
Konami.
bit weird.
It's always weird with him.
Well, it
Everything's
is.
weird. But we won't go into it because they went into enough detail. Dalek specifically goes through a lot of detail about Kojima, and I think it's very interesting. So
Yes.
we may be making an appearance on it at some point as well. I think it's best we let them get settled in first.
Yeah.
Let them get some sort of enjoyment out of it before we go in there and professionally mess things up.
Professionally mess things up.
Because that's what we're good at. So yeah, if you want to check that out, you can find links through the website. And we do put the posts on there. I think it's every Sunday they go up. Cool. So they'll be going out on the website. And you'll be able to watch them from there. So if you've got any comments about that, put it on the video or on the article. Because I'm sure they would appreciate your feedback.
Definitely.
Let's have a jingle. Jingle, jingle, jingle.
Peter, you've lost the news!
Oh no, that's Jimmy Savile. Jingle, jangle, jingle, jangle.
We just play clips from Jingle All the Way.
No, I'm worse than Jimmy Savile. There was an interesting thing. I saw a tweet earlier that kind of led towards this. It was Glasgow City Council. Have you seen this tweet?
No.
It's hilarious. I'm guessing someone who works for Glasgow City Council's web team
Okay.
didn't change the accounts before tweeting,
Okay.
which was if Clarkson had abused a child, the BBC would have covered it up rather than firing him. And you think, stay classy, Glasgow City Council. But I mean, there is a certain amount of truth there. I mean, frankly, we're not going to get into the Clarkson debate now, but I frankly put someone who deserves to be fired.
There's no debate to be had then, we agree.
Yeah, so there you go. Sorry, Clarkson. I had this debate with someone on Fling.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that for a segue.
That was beautiful,
Straight
actually.
into Fling.
I wasn't going to say anything else, we let that slide.
Yeah.
You know,
So, Fling
moment. Yes.
is
You briefly showed me this last week after we finished recording.
which I've been playing with. Now, the problem with Fling, but the rough summary of it is, it's a ship in a bottle, message in a bottle app. So you would send a message out and it'll go somewhere in the world to a determined amount of people. I always send it to 50 because, frankly, nobody ever responds to my pictures.
49.
So what I realised was most of it is young males going, show me your boobs, I'll show you my dick. Show you my boobs, show you my dick. Show boobs, dick, boobs to D. Who wants to chat? Who wants to flirt? Who wants to chat? Look at me with that shirt on. And then loads of girls going, I'm at school. Look at me, I'm at school. I'm at school. I'm so pretty. So pretty. Oh, so pretty. Oh, look at me.
Are you the only person over 20 on there?
I think I am.
Oh, okay.
And this showed up when I was talking to a girl called Emily. There she is. And her T-shirt says Costume Judge.
Okay.
She had nail varnish that has then grown off, which was black nail varnish. So I thought I had something in common with this Emily.
Black nail varnish has grown off.
She looks about 18.
Okay.
If they look a lot younger, I try not to message them. So I responded back with my pretty staple, there's a thumbs up.
Yep.
Just going, alright. And she went, ew. And I went, ha 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 ha, because that's the appropriate thing to do when an 18-year-old shows disgust. And she said, you're as old as hell.
Well, she's got you there.
She has. So I went, Christ, you're right. I really should stop going to college. She said, WTF. So I sent her a picture of a man in a bird suit.
Is that Quentin Blake
No, it's
picture?
Polly Dunbar, but they're very similar.
Similar.
From a
Quentin
children's book.
Wilson, the motoring journalist.
Yeah, that's okay. I know what you meant. This is a book called Bird Dad that she illustrated. So she went, what the actual fuck? And I went, 'tis a bird man. Look at him soar. Now at this point, I'm thinking, she doesn't like me. She's freaked out, but she has responded. Let's see how far we can push her into being less like, oh, you're so old. I don't want to talk to you. So I went, 'tis a birdman, look at him soar. She said, high through the sky. I said, 'tis what a birdman does. She said, soars high through the sky. With a suit made from Muller corner pots and old banana peels. And she went, yes, go Birdman. Now she's on board. She's invested in the Birdman gambit.
Well, Michael Keaton was excellent.
Yeah, exactly. Sadly, and I left it there. She went, what? So I went, he fails to understand the theories of airspeed velocity and the impact it has on lift. He plummets down and down towards the ocean. No, Birdman, she responded. I went, save him, Emily. I can't swim. In big capital letters. Now at this point, she's feeling ownership of the guilt. She can't stop it. I went, only you have the power. She responded again, I can't swim. I went, 300 feet. 250. 200. No! It's getting panicky. 150 feet. No! 150. 25 feet. She's repeatedly saying no. At the last second, his wings find the air. He soars across the ocean surface. Birdman understands Emily. He doesn't hold a grudge. He's kind of cool like that. She went, yay! Birdman is free. I said, thanks for listening. Have a good week. Not every guy on here is the same. Some just want to add a bit of weird fun. Rock the world, Emily. Like, you know, like that old guy at the end of a feel-good sports movie. She went, thanks, you're great. Ha ha ha! But she spelled "you're" correctly as well.
That's good.
Bonus points for Emily. I went, no worries. I might be old as hell, in inverted commas, but that doesn't matter much. Enjoy every moment. She went, yeah, sorry. So now she's apologised for calling me old. Because age doesn't mean anything, really, in the world of being random. So I said, don't be. If I thought some old guy was perving on me, I'd be the same. Point is, I hope you smiled. It's a superpower we both share. Brighten someone's day with a random silly. And then, so that was good.
Have you ever watched that TV programme Off Their Rockers?
I have.
Excellent.
Yes.
Probably one of the best hidden camera style shows going. I urge people to give it a chance.
Yeah. So,
So I just went off a slight tangent there.
Yeah,
It's
so-
kind of related because it's old people making people laugh.
So I've also kind of been sending out things. I was like, confess something, right?
Oh, God.
A guy called Alex responded, priest using social media now. Nice. Which is a good response. What else we got? We've got Amanda here. She sent a picture of her pulling her underwear like that.
This is why there are teenage boys on there
Right.
going, boobs.
I went, your underwear is made of bubblegum? Didn't get a response for that, but I was trying to basically stop people from going through. Another one who I said,
Going through what?
Lost small dog answers to the name Chickler.
Right.
Reward for a safe return. Somebody claimed they'd found him. Obviously lying.
Liar.
Nothing there.
Made up.
If you could have one superpower, I asked, what would you choose? Someone said mind control. I responded, yes, that is the best power. I don't know why I'm writing this. It's as if, no, you already have it. Here's how good my acting is tonight. I really should get back into
That sounds like it
this.
might be an X-Files episode.
Oh, X-Files.
Oh.
That's coming back,
It
isn't
is.
it? That'll be good.
I hope so. I'm always sceptical when things come back.
Yeah, but I want to leave.
I know that. Well done. But no, I'm always sceptical when things come back because there's a reason they stop in the first place. And the original X-Files series were wonderful, brilliant. I loved them as a teenager. And then David Duchovny disappeared, like figuratively and literally. And they weren't quite as good. I don't mind Robert Patrick as an actor, but he just wasn't the same. And then that second film, I didn't like the second film. I know you didn't mind it, but it was just too much like a Criminal Minds episode.
Yeah, it wasn't an X-Files film.
So,
Episode,
but
I did like it because I like Billy Connolly and I quite like
don't
the
like Billy
idea of
Connolly.
murders in the snow as well. I quite like that.
yeah, and anything that gets Julian Anderson on TV, I'm happy with. It's like a fine wine. It's better with age.
The Fall was very good. If you didn't
Then
see
watch
it.
the film, no.
It's very, very good. It had Jamie Dornan in it as well, I think, for 50 Shades of Grey.
I haven't seen either of those things.
Well, there you go. Anyway, back to Fling.
Yeah.
Leo asked, if you could cast a Patronus charm, what form would it take? Well, of course, I had a few options here.
Please say Batman. Please say you said Batman.
I said Honey Badger, because as we've ascertained from Far Cry, Honey Badger is always the right answer.
Only cockroaches and honey badgers will survive nuclear war.
The response from Leo, legend. I went, damn straight. I've had people start lines from songs, and I've joined in, and then I've like really bushed it out, and I've used emojis and all sorts. And generally, what I've found is people quite like to have a good laugh on here, but most of them don't expect it.
Yeah.
Because I think most people, what it is, it allows young people who feel maybe a bit isolated or a bit lonely, or majority a bit horny in the evening, the opportunity to just randomly go, hey. And I remember... but it is, I mean, most of it is kids going, hey, with their stupid fucking haircuts. And one guy took a picture of Evolve on a massive grate, and I mean massive grate glass, it must have been like 60 inches. Xbox One underneath it. The game case stood there, and then it went, what game is this? And I went, Evolve.
Is it Torek?
I went, Evolve. I can see the game case. Now tidy your fucking house up and dust your Xbox. It's a disgrace. The guy sent me a photo back half an hour later. He dusted it all.
Nice.
So I've made
It's the power of social media, right
I've
there.
made people laugh. I've made people smile. I've made people completely weirded out. I've made people do housework. I'm seeing myself now as like the kindly old janitor.
The conscience of Fling.
Yeah, just kind of. I'm now staying in the world of Fling. I'm living in it now.
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm concerned, I have absolutely no ulterior motive. There's nothing creepy about it, although some people would think it was creepy. But the only reason it looks creepy is because generally the users on there, like I'd say 80% of it, are under 21.
Yeah.
So, like from that, but then you and I both know from working with teenagers and kids in a kind of work environment, nothing's better than a cool adult.
Yeah.
Like they respond well to that. So instead, I'll be like, if somebody writes, "I've had a shit day, I feel awful," I will respond with something motivational, cheerful. If someone says, like they just took a picture of themselves frowning, I'll frown worse than they can frown, and usually they'll laugh about it. I'm loving it.
So if you frown hard enough, your beard and eyebrows will meet up as well.
They really do. I can go like that. It shuts my eyes.
If your hair's long enough, it's just one solid block of hair.
But I just really like it because it is weird, and it does. I mean, you do get a lot because you get random ones all the time coming through, and most of them are blokes going, I'll guess your bra size, or there's a bee just went down your top, take it off, and I'll check if it got out. It's really weird, like chat lines, and you just feel like going, mate, that'll never fucking work. I don't know why I whispered that because that might not have picked it up. Hopefully it would have picked up me whispering. But yeah, this is it's a really weird app that I kind of like. I like one of the things I like. There was a thing called post crossing.
Okay.
Which is basically you give your email,
crossing the streams, basically.
No,
okay.
You give your address to the website, and then random users will be sent your address.
Okay.
And they post you a postcard from anywhere in the world.
Right.
And then you get sent a random address to post a postcard to.
Okay.
So normally you'd just say, "Hi, my name's Nathan. I work in this job. I live in this town. I hope you're okay." And you post it off. And someone in Australia might get a postcard from Wisbech.
Okay.
And it's the best thing I ever signed up for. Because it's just...
If I regret it then, Wisbech.
How often do you ever get post that's good these days?
Like Tesco Club Card vouchers.
Yeah, and look what you've had to give up to get them. All of your personal
True,
data.
they have got my soul now trapped in a jar behind the customer
Most
service
people
desk.
get stuff from companies, bills,
Yeah.
council letters, or junk mail.
That's got to do it all by email. You see, all the good news comes
Once
to email.
every week, I can get a postcard from somewhere in the world that I don't know where it's coming from. It's an awesome feeling.
I'd laugh if you got one from March. It's travelled 11 miles.
I have set it so that people can't send from this country. Because I just didn't want people having my address who could drive here. That was the thing, was a bit creepy. So I just thought, no, if I ask for anybody outside of the country, that's fine. And you can set a thing like you write a bit of profile and people will respond to wherever you request certain kinds of postcards. So someone would collect stamps, for example, and there might be a really cool stamp available somewhere, like those Irish stamps I showed you. Some people will request it. Like, if you're in Ireland, could you put an Irish stamp on the postcard, please? Don't know what accent I was, a bit Scandinavian.
We'll move along before we get more complaints.
But yeah, that was really cool. And this is kind of, for me, it's a little bit like that. It's more of an instant one.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like opening a portal. Like you just rip open life and you're seeing into someone else's life. Just very briefly. And you can kind of just go, all right. And they go, oh, and then the portal shuts again. And it's got an appeal. It's got an appeal to me. So yeah, I'm going to keep going with that, and I'll come back. We'll probably get some Twitter questions, and I'll ask the questions in the app and see what we can get back. I've asked people, what would you rather have, a ham made of ham or an armpit that dispenses sun cream? Right. Most people have gone for the armpit.
I can understand why.
And so yeah, they're all questions I stole from Richard Herring's podcast. So I want my own questions, so people could send them in. That'd be cool. But yeah, so Fling is the app. If people want to give it a try. But do be aware, you will get a lot of pictures of teenage blokes trying it on. There is a good... Do you know what? Actually,
probably the worst way you can
interesting
finish.
thing.
I really like it, except...
I've been using it for about 10 days. Haven't seen any genital nudity.
Okay.
Or
positive.
Female breasts.
Okay.
So
Again,
the
positive.
filter works quite well. No swear words. I've never seen a swear word on a first
fucking shit
message. So again, it's filtering well. So they obviously know that some young teenagers are going to use it and they are being responsible with it. So I like that. Doesn't mean that people are now just saying like DVD or they're just putting two pictures or maybe using emoji to try and circumvent it. But that's fine, it's not offensive.
Yeah.
I won't let my children use it, God no. But at the same
Lunatics on there with beards.
well, we'll talk about child protection later. But essentially, it's quite an exciting thing for me to be part of. And like I say, I feel a little bit like Morpheus to the internet's Neo.
Do you just stand there with two Skittles?
I should do that.
Purple Skittle or the yellow Skittle.
Which do you take? That's one of the questions I will ask this week. Red pill or blue pill? Let's see what people say. Most of them probably have never even heard of the Matrix. Christ, only 15. It was made before they were born. I found that out today. Lad came in, wanted to prove how old he was.
Okay.
He said he was 15. I said, I don't think you are. I said, when were you born? And he said 2002. I went, doesn't make you 15. He went, yeah, it does. I went, the year's 2015. When do you think you had to have been born to have been 15 in the year 2015? The Matrix was 99, so potentially they weren't even born when the Matrix came out, which is scary as hell, because I had left school and college by that point.
I was still at school.
Yeah, well, you know, you're the young, sexy one on the podcast.
Well,
I'm the old, wizened, old, clever one. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, let's have another jingle then.
We are the Lolocaust. Hipper and more retro than Julian Rignall riding a Segway through the streets of Akihabara to buy a Nokia N-Gauge.
Games with gold has been a good scheme, really. I mean, a lot of people do bemoan the fact that it's not as generous as PlayStation's offerings.
It's pretty generous. The only beef I have is that none of my downloads seem to ever fucking work.
But at least you've marked them as bought, so you can try again as many times as you like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never really had an issue. Some people say, well, PlayStation gives you 100 quid worth of stuff, you only get 20 quid. Well, that's still 20 quid worth of stuff.
Theoretically, they don't have to do it.
No, it's a thank you, because what you're paying for is access to a service, and then because you're a service user, you get this bonus. I've been using quite a lot as well the full game trials I've been doing recently.
Okay.
Gold members got 8 hours of Dragon Age Inquisition. You could do whatever you wanted. It was the full game.
Yep.
Unlock achievements. You could play the game however you liked, but you had an 8-hour time limit. I've used 2 hours because I don't want to get that invested in it.
And then go, oh, no!
Hours.
No!
And as soon as the first achievement popped, I was like, oh god, no. That's awful. At the same time, gold owners from tomorrow, so by the time this goes out, can download Forza Horizon 2 Fast and Furious, which is a complete standalone game featuring, I think, 7 cars from the Fast and Furious franchise on a big map with 1,000 achievements.
Nice.
Well, 1,000 achievement points, rather.
Is that Xbox One or 360 or both?
Xbox One and 360.
Beautiful.
You don't have to own Forza Horizon 2.
Okay.
If you don't download it within the 3-week window, it's then about 8 quid to download.
Okay.
But as a promotional thing, that's quite cool to give away for free.
Especially with the film coming out.
Exactly. So, yeah, obviously get on that as well. But this month is the 1-year anniversary, is it? Oh, no, it's the anniversary of having 100 million games.
Yep.
Well,
It's been downloaded.
Yeah, and 5 billion gamer score owned, which frankly means that a lot of people need to up their game, because 100 million games times 1,000 is not 5 billion.
No.
Slackers.
Wow.
But this month they're doubling it up.
They are.
Now I predicted Titanfall. I think we talked about it on the show.
We did, because the DLC was free.
Yeah, so I think now that means it's going into the vault,
Okay.
because it's an EA game, which is fine, and I think that's what they'll probably do is they'll then make the DLC paid again, but give the game away for free.
Yep.
So people that grabbed it early will benefit both, but we should see with that. But instead, run us through what we're getting then, Rob.
Xbox One, available all month. Pool Nation FX.
Yes.
Oh, yep.
It is a good social game.
Okay.
So I'm quite excited.
And as we spoke about last week, it's kind of nice to have those games occasionally.
Especially when they're given away for free.
Well, yeah, perfect.
Because everybody's got the same
chance to get it.
Postman Gav tried and almost persuaded me to buy this last month. But I
know who's laughing now,
Well, I
Gav?
emailed the company and just said, are there plans to do a sale at some point? Because we run this site and we'd quite like to help.
Yeah.
And they went, there is something in the pipeline. So I was like, oh, wait. Didn't realise I was going to give it away for free.
Yep.
So that's good. That's usually about £8, $7.99.
Yeah, but it's $9.99
Yeah.
on the...
I just said it's $7.99. Don't argue.
Yeah, but we know how these things work. They just change the dollar for a pound. So
They do, although these ones generally do tend to be more reflective of actual values, which is quite nice.
So Child of Light is also available all month on Xbox One.
Is beautiful,
Okay.
and that's the one that's also on the same engine that Valiant Hearts uses, Ubisoft Art Engine.
And then on the 360, it's the same principle as last month, where they had one game for 2 weeks, which was Tomb Raider, and then another game for the final 2 weeks, which is still at the moment Bioshock Infinite. So from April 1st to 15th, you can get Gears of War Judgment or Terraria.
Okay, well, Judgment's a good call.
Yep.
It's a good judgment call.
It's a judgment call. Thank you.
I really liked that game when that first came out. I loved the idea of replaying the testimonials in court, and you could choose, and you could take on the extra challenge as well for the extra awards. I thought it was very cleverly put together.
It was.
Some people didn't like the class-based elements, but I preferred that. It played more like Battlefield.
I've enjoyed all the Gears of War games, to be fair. So
I think what that did is it gave you a lot of backstory.
Yeah, it
And
did.
If
It filled
you
it
like
well.
the stories, then that was perfect.
That's one thing I think they've done pretty well with Gears of War and Halo, to be fair. If you like that universe, you've got the books, which are all well written. They filled in much more of the backstory of Gears of War Judgment. They've fleshed it out nicely. So you can either go in just purely, I just want to play a game, or there is a fully formed world almost out there, which is great.
Yeah, so that's good. And Terraria obviously being the 2D side-on, kind of Minecraft-y type pixel game, which my kids love. I bought it on the Xbox One, so now they'll be able to play it down here, which for free, which is really good.
Yep.
I do wish sometimes when you buy a game on one console, you would get the equivalent version for like you do cross-buy on PlayStation. I wish they'd do that for Microsoft, because the amount of games that Minecraft, if you bought the Xbox One, you got it cheaper. But that's the only time, and that's because it's Minecraft, and Minecraft is awesome. It's very fair.
That's kind of the point of Minecraft in a way as well, to have that.
So
big
I would
social.
quite like sometimes when they've done things and they're both there, you do think, I just wish I could have got that a little bit cheaper as to go through. And Terraria, I mean, obviously they make a lot of money for it being what it is, but it wouldn't have been a big step for them to have gone, well, you've got it on one, have it for free on the other. But now I can have it for free.
Yep.
What have we got for the second part of the month?
Second half of the month, running from April 16th to the 31st, is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag and Army of Two, The Devil's Cartel.
Well, Black Flag obviously very good. Good pirates and assassins.
Yep.
Which is good. I still haven't
All it's
finished
missing
that.
is ninjas.
There might be a ninja in it. You never know. And Devil's Cartel. The Army of Two games I really liked.
I never played them.
You have to play it co-op. That's the one big thing.
That was the thing. And they intrigued me because at the time there weren't many good co-op games.
No.
There were games you could play as co-op, which were okay.
Yeah.
And they kind of work. In Halo, you could play as co-op, and me and Emma was playing through them all as co-op. But they work well enough.
Yeah.
But this was specifically designed to be a co-op game. And of course, we played Gears of War. We did things like Horde as cooperative play, and those experiences have always been really positive. And I mentioned Destiny earlier. Again, very positive cooperative experience. So, Army of Two was probably one of those first games which was really obviously made to be a co-op game.
Yeah.
And it was quite honest about it. It's like, you can play on your own. You've got an AI partner, but really, you need to be.
I played through the first one, which was universally panned. I mean, critics mauled it and said it was a terrible game. I played it through a friend of mine, Boydster, who's on Twitter, and you may have played with him on stuff in the past. We used to play Gears with him a little bit, so
maybe
at some point. They did the games cast for naturally.
Oh yeah.
We played through the whole game over about 4 different days.
Yep.
And there was one mission where, and it's been done in other games, but it was the first time I've seen it. You were on an aircraft carrier that started to sink.
Okay.
And so 2 of you run across, and planes were tumbling down essentially the runway. That's now a staple of like the Call of Duty Battlefield games, but that was the first time I'd seen it, and it felt exhilarating. And it was even better because I was there with somebody else who was seeing what I was seeing.
Yeah.
And it was also one where you could kind of fist bump each other. You push a button and fist bump, or annoy each other if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But it was good. If one of you grabbed a shield, like a car door, the other one could walk behind you. It rewarded you for playing it properly.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect, but it was enjoyable, which is what it needed.
But again, when you talk about things like that, you can see the foundations for stuff we see now.
Yeah.
Again, Destiny's a perfect example of this because you've got the inbuilt the dancing and the saluting and all that sort of stuff. This was where the groundwork started to appear for the games we see now.
And I like I say, I like the idea of Army of Two. It just works as a thing. Perhaps when this comes out, we'll have to arrange a night and we'll play a card together.
This comes back to what you were just saying about Terraria and Pool Nation effects. you've got a cooperative game which
Yeah.
is now available to everyone
Yeah.
for now.
All of these games represent massive elements of Xbox Live as well. You've got Pool Nation, which is a casual sports game. Child of Light, which is a really good high art indie game. You've got Gears of War, big online multiplayer. You've got lit with a list now. Terraria, the creation
that
side
might
of
be
it.
the one that actually, rolling it back, like, that interests me the most thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because I do really value those kind of very laid back sort of games.
Yeah.
Because I don't own many of them. I was thinking this the
There's
other
a
day,
lot of
and-
depth to Terraria as well.
Just to be able to sit on a sofa and just literally just slump down and just play.
Oh, it's a bit more. It's not as casual.
No,
as
I know,
Minecraft,
but
yeah,
it's a lot less intense than a Destiny or a
Yeah.
Call of Duty
You
or
can just
even a
stand
Fallout.
around.
Because even Fallout, even just wandering,
Yeah.
you get attacked by things. You've got to be on your toes. And
Black Flag, huge game. I mean, to get that much free game is phenomenal. And then a big game of cards. So, yeah, I mean, that's a really good... So some people would bemoan that and say, well, the games on Xbox One are rubbish. They could have given us Forza Horizon or Forza 5 or whatever. Well, no, they don't need to. What they're giving you there is one really solid design game and one really good social game. So, yeah, I approve of these games, Rob. I approve of them wholeheartedly.
Good.
Right, should we find out what Dalek was going to say about contraband?
yeah, I suppose we should.
I've now clicked the play button. So it will load in about 12 minutes because the
Really?
Vulcan is slow. So feel free to get yourself a drink Rob, while it's low, because I'm not using any of this audio, despite using my podcast voice. We're not going to use anything.
Well, here's my podcast legs.
All right, fair enough.
They're different from my normal head.
While Rob's gone, he thinks we're not recording this bit. I just want you to know that he touched me there. Yeah, right there. Filth. Pure filth.
The court doll's in my bag if you want to show the people where I touched you.
It knows where you touched me. You pushed it into me.
This is Dalek Sex, and the voice of sex has been having some drinks here.
Yeah. Huh. Come on. He's got opinion and posted suggestion, but never reveals his name. Read by someone, taken as a good one, but nobody knows who wrote it. Few lies of the sentence lie, anonymity annoying me all the time. It's like a 2-channel where people just throw their anger and forget about those foul actions.
Hello everyone, Dalek Sex speaking. It's going to be a short one this week, because I'm just going to present you with my list of the games you can play today that the governments of the world worldwide don't want you to be playing. Number 1 on my list is Command & Conquer Generals, which is banned in China for showing the Chinese army in a negative light. Not all that difficult, but we're setting the bar low with the first entry. Number 2 is EA Sports MMA, which is banned in Denmark, not for the inclusion of horrific violence and mixed martial arts, but because it features energy drinks, which are banned from being portrayed in mass media there. Number 3, the country is Germanstein, and the game is Wolfenstein, all the Wolfenstein games. In fact, you can't play anything with Nazi regalia in it in Germany, so I suggest you get on out there and SS it up for great justice. Number 4 on my list is Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow, which was banned in Singapore because a company called Dara and Doa in the game was construed by censors as being a veiled threat to the president of the time. Number 5 on my list is Injustice, Gods Amongst Us, which has been banned in multiple countries, not for violent content as you might think, but for the word gods in the title. Number 6 is Codblops 2 and Medal of Honor Warfighter, which are banned in Pakistan, not for being shit, but for portraying Pakistan negatively. The big meanies. At number 7 on my list is Pokémon the Trading Card Game, which is banned in Saudi Arabia for featuring a pentagram, which, everybody knows, argued the censors, is a symbol of Zionism, which the game was therefore promoting. At number something on my list is the Mass Effect games, which has been banned in several countries for introducing homosexual relationships, but in Singapore specifically lesbianism, which is particularly destructive to a country's moral fibre. Those naughty, naughty space lesbians with their sexy blue labia. And at number final, Spec Ops The Line, which is banned in the United Arab Emirates because, well, have you ever fucking played it? I mean, really. That's me done for this week. You can catch me at Twitter at The Voice of Sex and on YouTube at Sex Talks About Apps, where this week I've been playing a right bunch of old bollocks such as Smoothie Swipe and City Pizza Delivery Guy. And don't forget, Mark and my new channel tube show thingy, the Lolocaust Tubeblockers.
Well, there you go. Yeah. That was good. Interestingly, I've planned to talk about a lot of the reasons those things are banned, as you know, because I was going through going, I know why that one was banned. Yeah. Interesting, you talked about the Wolfenstein games. I went to Germany, as we talked personally.
Yes.
Before. And I spent a bit of time there. The first time I stopped with the family, he took me up to his bedroom. He went, I'm going to show you something.
So you quarter-pointed doll again?
No, I'm going to show you something, but you mustn't tell my parents. I was like, oh, what's this? And he had Wolfenstein 3D on his PC as a pirated version. It was the full version as well. And he was like, this is the greatest game I've ever played. He had that, and he also had... what was the other one? It was...
accent problems, apparently.
He had Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis as well.
Wow.
Which is awesome. Tell you the other thing he had, which was really awesome. He had... Well, it wasn't that awesome. He had a bed under... He was in the top of the house.
Okay.
So his bed was under the slope of the roof.
Yep.
And I was sleeping on that bed. So every morning I'd sit up. Every morning I'd smack my head. And one day I got really annoyed and I threw a cushion because he was laughing. And I missed him and I hit his prized Coke can collection.
Right.
Now in Germany at the time, so this would have been 94.
Okay.
Was there a World Cup in 94?
Yep.
So they must have been World Cup related. But they had loads of cans with different football clubs.
USA 94. So.
Yeah, so it could have been that. Or it could have just been German leagues.
Okay.
But either way, he had all these Coke cans with logos from different football clubs on, all arranged, and they collapsed and they were crumpled, and he was furious with me.
Oh.
And I went, well, serves you right for putting a bed under a roof. Not my fault you lost the war. We had this every now and then. We'd discuss it. It wasn't just me being awful. But
you started it.
But playing Wolfenstein, knowing it was a banned game in the country, was quite a to-do, I must say. And it's the only time I've played something that's probably banned. 3 games have been banned in the UK. Do you know what they are?
Was Postal banned?
No. All of them are now currently available in different forms. So they're all games that will refuse certification.
I'm trying to think. There's one that I can visualise it in my head, but I cannot for the life of me think what the name was of the game.
Well, the first one was Carmageddon.
Okay. I think we talked about that when you talked about the Humble Bundle.
They was the first game to be submitted to the BBFC for a rating, and it didn't get a rating.
But they knew it wouldn't. They did it on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. So then it got edited and released. The second one was Manhunt 2.
That's probably what I was thinking of.
Which then changed the executions to a black screen. And I wrote a Dirty Dozen article about that. Number 2 was Violent Weekends. That's going to be reposted. I've also reposted the first one about ethnic cleansing. That's up in a moment. But the third one was The Punisher on PS2 and original Xbox.
Really?
Because it was, I don't know if you ever played it.
I didn't.
Was proper violent. I mean, The Punisher should be.
Yeah.
The Punisher is violent. It was a proper 18 rated game. It was the first 18 rated game, I believe, in the whole of Europe to be refused a certification.
Wow.
They would go for 18 and they wouldn't even get an 18.
Yeah.
Which is very unusual. Some of them were like, if you're in a workshop, one of the executions you could do was put the bloke under a bench drill and pull it down through his eye socket. So they said, well, you can keep him in, but you need to pull the camera right out, blur it, make it go black and white, don't show this, don't have that noise. Yeah. And then they released it. And even with the stuff censored, it was still a very violent, very, very good game. Up until the next, or what was then the next gen console, 360. That was my favourite Marvel comic adaptation. Huh? That and Hulk Total Destruction, Ultimate Destruction, whatever it's called. Those two were fantastic. But the Punisher was great. But they're the only 3 games that have ever been banned as such, because if it's the only way it can be banned is refuse certificate.
Yeah.
And so they were the only 3. But
my favourite Marvel adaptation up to that point was Spider-Man on the Dreamcast.
A lot of the Spider-Man games, Spider-Man on the PS1 and PS2 as well. Ultimate Spider-Man on the PS2. I bought the shiny Ultimate Venom edition from Game, and I think it gave you the chance to play as Venom. I don't think you had him in the main game. And I was like, "Whoa, that's going to be exciting!" I mean, it wasn't as much fun as playing the Spider-Man because he couldn't swing around as freely. But yeah, so some good stuff from Dalek as always. And like you said, do go check his stuff out again. You can find that via our website, www.lolocaust.co.uk. Shall we get the big plate out?
Yeah, get your big plate out.
I've got my big plate out. So this week we're going to be talking about, and we've put a thing out on Twitter about this as well. And it follows on from games that have been banned and things like that. Games that have made us feel a bit... Things that games have made us feel... Like sometimes we'll see an article in the Daily Mail and it'll be, Grand Theft Auto made me steal a car. And we as gamers go, that's ridiculous. He stole a car. You can't blame him on the game. But then you get times where you think, I can't really justify this being a thing. And sometimes it's just something that a private company's made, like Ethnic Cleansing, which isn't a big corporately made game, but it's one that's used as propaganda. I was told, I can't remember the name of it now, but there's a concentration camp simulator that came out on the Commodore 64. Early days of gaming, particularly the Atari 2600, they had Custer's Last Stand, where you rape the Indian, and they had Beat 'em and Eat 'em, where you stood on a building masturbating down, and then somebody would walk around trying to swallow the ejaculate as it plummeted towards them. So that was just bizarre. But it was a time when people were just like, whoa, that's a bit sexy. We've looked at Sam Fox Strip Poker in the past as well and talked about that. So you get these weird ones, but this concentration camp simulator has been remade and released right through to the millennium on different platforms. And it is essentially like Theme Park
for a concentration
camp. You've got to kill enough Jews and dispose of the bodies and have enough fuel to burn them. It's a very, very sinister. It's been picked up now by a lot of like the white supremacist groups who've re-released it. But yeah, luckily it's hard to find because it's disgraceful. But you know, the point is that wasn't released as an information thing, or as a look, this is shocking. This was a let's kill all the Jews game. I can't defend that. I can defend its right to exist, but I can't defend it as a gamer, saying, there's nothing wrong with that, because there's a lot wrong with that.
A hell of a lot.
It's just, and that's the thing. Like when we ask this question, a lot of people are like, nothing really. Nothing's ever really bothered me. And I think, I don't know, have people played The Last of Us? Because the opening of The Last of Us certainly bothered me, because it should bother me. The emotionally attached moments in games work. So like
does it depend what you define as bothering you, though?
Well, this is it. I think when we ask question, people are thinking things they actually took offence at. And I think there's a big difference. So,
because I think theme concentration camp would upset a lot of people for differing reasons. Not only because it's a very upsetting subject, but also because it's why would you make that game? So there's both empathy, anger. There's all sorts of different emotions tied to a subject like that. Whereas, let's say, Gears of War. Spoiler, whatever. It's been out long enough. So when Dom finds his wife, very emotional moment within the game. I found that quite a sensitive moment, considering the context of the game. Obviously, he'd been hoping she was all right, trying to find her through. It was Gears of War 2 he found, wasn't it? So he's basically spent a game and a half worrying about his wife, hoping to find her. Then he did, and obviously, wasn't pretty.
No,
that was a very powerful moment. Especially given the game is very gung ho, and almost to the point of it kind of desensitised you to the fact you're blowing arms and legs off locusts and using chainsaws, and because it's a locust, not another human, you think nothing of it. Just chainsaw him in half. So,
and even calling them locusts are pests to be exterminated, and that's
clever use of wording and how we associate what we associate with that word ordinarily. So again, that's kind of where it comes into what upsets you.
Well, I'll go through the list of what people suggested. So Neferian, Jonathan Gator, on Twitter, he said Farmville, which I don't know whether that's like it bothers him as in Farmville bothers him, or whether it's just the fact that so many people spent a lot of money on that. Because that's also, I mean, that's kind of offensive for what is the thing. Dr. Hamhock, I have no idea who he is, sitting on my ASCII Rumble Pack while playing Res, which is a Dreamcast game. So yeah, obviously that was that. Stephen Ellis, NHL, you might know him.
Yep.
I sent him the information about the game.
Yep.
KZ Manager, that's what it was called. He went, well, that was interesting. Doesn't offend me, but I'm surprised it exists. And that's kind of the point, really.
That's
it's
exactly.
Like,
there's so many different
an
emotional spectrum, so wide.
Shogun Pumba, good old Pumba. He said, nothing really offends me, but some have upset me. I went, well, go ahead. He went, any games that overly use speech bubbles filled with ... That annoys me. So, yeah, that's fair enough. Postman Gav, honestly couldn't think of anything. Not sure what that says about me. Well, we know what that says about Postman Gav.
Well,
Welshbeck, maybe the Modern Warfare 2 airport bit. I walked through there without firing, but I'm struggling to come up with others.
See, that was a controversial scene.
Yeah.
And equally, whether it's something about the individual person or not, I think for some people it was just another scene in Call of Duty, and there's a very desensitised attitude to it. And then for others, it was a very emotionally charged scene.
I mean, I responded to him with this, and I said, it's not an easy question that we're asking, which we're covering that.
Yeah.
But I said, gamers tend to be open to more artistic reasoning. So if something seems relevant,
if it's in keeping.
Yeah. If that whole game was going to airport shooting people, I don't think any of us would be here going, yeah, it's got a right to exist.
Yeah.
As such. But I said the airport scene was very plot relevant, you know. He said, totally agree. Maybe smut for smut's sake, like Sex Tetris on the 48k, and Womb Raider as well was another one similar to it. But yeah, so there's a few good responses.
Yeah.
I found the game that's most offended me in the last 5 years last week.
I saw you tweeting about this. I liked your description that it makes Chris Brown seem like a progressive male. That tickled me.
It really did. I'm writing at the moment.
See, that's what offends me in life, that he still has a career.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you this picture. And I don't know how long my iPhone's going to last for.
Okay.
But I was basically perusing a well-known torrenting website to try and find a piece of photo editing software.
Okay.
Because my piece is rubbish and the laptop's so old it only run old software. So I bought some new stuff that won't run. So I was trying to find an earlier version.
I could have just recommended one to you, Snave, and then it was some weird game.
Well, no, this basically popped up while looking. So I was looking for like a 3-year earlier version of the same software. So this came up with this picture. So basically, it's a woman tripping over, with what looks like very low cut top, and then a bloke looking quite excited about that. So there you go. That's big triangle in the middle start game. Now I couldn't work out what the hell this was supposed to be.
Okay.
So I clicked on it, and it gave me a little cutscene. Come on in. I've been waiting for a long time. Car drives through a window, nearly runs a naked, well, almost naked woman over. Hugh Hefner type has got a vault opened by the same woman. Girls always love me. I spent lots of cash and lived life to the fullest. Now it's your turn to live that way. I was like, all right. Take some cash, get yourself a girl, start a new life. Now, for some reason, the vault is full of coins on the floor.
Yeah.
But there's one bundled set of banknotes just happened to be in a woman's mouth.
Okay.
Then it says, this is your profile screen. The girl to your left is your next target.
Yep.
Click the girl to fly to London to conquer her.
Alright.
So there she is. So she's obviously a nurse.
Obviously.
So I'm on a trolley. Do you have a boyfriend? No. And why are you asking? The next scene, I swear to God, straight into it. Full hardcore cartoon. Gets very obscene. Instead of just progress, you've got obscenities. It goes on. To progress this one, I had to ejaculate. Or to come, as it says. Now, to require to do that, I needed a girl's pink top.
Right.
Then a woman who's too unattractive gets to put a bag on her head. Then this guy is openly masturbating in a strip bar.
Right.
Which, frankly, is pushing it a little bit, as far as I'm concerned. To jack off for that mission, I had to have a pair of women's jeans.
Okay.
Then somebody comes up and goes, what the fuck are you doing here? Now, I don't know whether that's what the hell are you doing
here.
Or what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be at home looking after my kids, and instead you're sitting here with your cock in your hand. Now,
Suddenly turned into some Jeremy Kyle.
now let's pay very close attention.
Right.
What is he wearing?
Blue jeans.
Blue jeans. Next scene, kicks the door down.
With no trousers on.
No trousers on, but he's still got his socks and shoes on. Now, have you ever tried to take blue jeans over a pair of shoes?
No.
Almost impossible. Kicks the lady's door down. What are you doing here? This is ladies. I don't give a fuck.
Excellent.
And then he meets the nurse again. And then straight away, they're at it again. And she asks, will you date me? He says, yeah, okay.
Oh.
And that's that mission complete. That's what he had to do. Basically go, pop some Viagra, stagger around half naked in a strip club, find a nurse in a toilet, shag her from behind, and then she'd magically date him.
Yeah.
The next mission makes you go to a university where you've got to find a virgin, get her drunk, and basically persuade her to get to be with you. It is atrocious and awful, and I cannot defend it on any level, and I have got such a good article building up around it. I want to keep playing the game because I want to find out how far they push things. But then I looked at, because every game's got a wiki, right? So Farmville wiki was full of how the best way to do.
Yep.
I wondered whether the people that played this game would have their own wiki. Like, is there a strategy to make sure you're effective? There is a wiki,
Okay.
and it's it's the worst nerdy kind of wiki ever.
Right.
Like really breaking down the economics of it and how you can build it through.
Economics of
And at one point, they basically say, I've spent $1,500 on this game just to complete all the characters in the time allotted.
Okay.
It's like, you spent $1,500. That's like, what, 1,100 quid?
Yeah.
On a game in which basically, it's not a game. You're just hitting a button to get another cartoon scene come up, which is offensive as a last.
Right.
It's
Yeah, I'm
very
sorry, I'm
bizarre.
struggling to get my head around this.
I don't get it. I really don't get it. I can understand why it exists, because it's basically leeching money off of people who probably would be on that site to download porn. That's what I'm guessing. But I was there trying to get photo editing software from like 2008. I wasn't looking to suddenly go, oh yeah, you know what I want while I'm sat here with my children watching Night in the Museum 3? I really want this weird film. And the worst was, I was taking photos of the screen, and they were sort of sat on the other sofa, and I was thinking, this is going to make such a good article. I really need to get these photos. So I'm taking all the photos. And the next day, we were off to my mum's birthday. So I was taking pictures of everybody around the table. Mum went, oh, can I have a look at the photos? I was like, yeah. Gave her my phone. Well, she must have flicked a bit too far, because she very quickly went, so, what else? And I didn't breach her, but that was obviously what happened. So yeah, Dirty Dozen Volume 3 will be coming out, and it's dedicated to this sex gangsters game, inverted commas. But then, we talked about Modern Warfare's. I think we talked before about the crash and the nuclear bomb.
Oh, in the first one?
Yeah, which I don't think he's necessarily offensive.
They've had similar scenarios, scenes, whatever you call it, in films. Emma and I watched Summer of All Fears with Ben Affleck and Morgan Freeman a few weeks ago. Cool.
That was my housemate.
Yeah.
So if you go from Summer of All Fears.
So Emma and I watched Summer of All Fears with Ben Affleck and Morgan Freeman a few weeks ago. And again, spoiler alert, it's been out for fucking years. Nuclear bomb goes off in Baltimore. So this isn't...
Good morning, Baltimore.
Good morning, Baltimore.
Hairspray with a nuclear bomb. Very good. Hey, Joe.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh. Should we be watching the prep school play?
Em and I watched Summer of All Fears a few weeks ago, the film with Ben Affleck and Morgan Freeman.
No, deja vu.
Yeah, well, again, spoiler alert, but bullshit to that. The nuclear bomb goes off in Baltimore.
Good morning, Baltimore.
Baltimore. So that's a pretty major American city being attacked by a nuclear device in a film which was 10, 15 years ago. Yeah. So this isn't like a new concept just to modern warfare. It's happened before.
Yeah.
And again, as you said before, if you can kind of justify that action as part of a story, no matter how shocking it is, because sometimes you do need to challenge these things. If you can justify it and do it in let's call it a tactful way, for lack of a better term, why not include it? This isn't gratuitous.
No.
It was appropriate, exactly. This isn't the gratuitous boob shot that you get in some films just to go, this film's a bit rubbish.
Yeah.
Get us to take a top off, we'll be fine. You know, it's in keeping with the tone of the film, the story. It fits, it makes sense. It's not forced in just to have that shock point, which all the papers get hold of to build the hype for the film.
Yeah. And then you look at games like Rayplay, which I don't know if you're aware of.
No.
It's one of those
do I want to be aware of it?
It's one of those horrible Japanesey games where you're just kind of removing clothes from people and sexually attacking them. I mean, they exist and they're massively popular in Japan.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they shouldn't exist. But as a gamer, I find those...
Because that touches on what we talked about 2 episodes ago with Dead or
Choice
Alive.
of words there.
With Dead or Alive.
Yeah.
The synergy that what Western culture or Western gamers find acceptable, should we call it, compared to what the Japanese find acceptable, is still very different.
Yeah. And just as Dalek was saying, you know, what one country won't allow energy drinks, another country won't allow the word God or the Zionist symbol. I mean, that's the thing, is what is offensive differs based on belief and based on culture and everything else. And that's the thing. Like, so what would be acceptable in Japan wouldn't be acceptable here. And we would be like, whoa, well, that's far too weird.
Yeah.
But there'd be stuff that wouldn't be acceptable there that we'd have here. But it was interesting. I liked the fact that people go through. Generally, to find stuff that's genuinely offensive, you've got to go into the kind of the non-mainstream, see the underbelly. Because I don't find the prostitutes in Grand Theft Auto to be tasteful. I wish they weren't there.
Yeah.
But in a game in which it's all about crime and criminal activities, it would be wrong.
It's a little
weird.
It's in keeping with the tone to a point.
And then you've got, obviously, with Grand Theft Auto 5, the infamous torture scene with Trevor basically tortured and he's pleading. And that was always used, you know, I would say this is why the game should be banned. And it was one out of gameplay segment that, yes, it should have been made you feel. It made me feel bad playing. I didn't want to do those things. There's been that in sometimes games where I don't want to push that button because I know what the reason is going to be. At the end of Far Cry, I was given an option to do something that I didn't want to do, but I saw it through because it's there.
Yeah.
And sometimes games can do that. And we've talked about removing the freedom of choice with Heavy Rain and stuff like that. And what I think my interpretation of Grand Theft Auto 5 torture scene is, there are two ways you can take it, but either way, you're a character whose moral compass is skewed at best. And my reluctance to do it is mirrored by the guy pleading.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. Like, it's a very, very violent game. But for people to get their heckles up about that one scene, more than the fact I can pick up a rocket launcher and blow up traffic, is the biggest hypocrisy. It's like, well, that guy's unarmed and he can't fight back. Neither can a family in a minivan.
Yeah.
But I can drive it into the sea if I want, or drive a bus through it. And I always just find this weird kind of hypocrisy that people get offended about stuff because it sounds more offensive. You just go, well, is this an armed man? And you're pulling his teeth out.
But this is the bizarre nature of the modern world. We touched on it earlier with Jeremy Clarkson, perfect example. Thousands and thousands of people signed a petition to get him his job back. He punched a colleague in the face. Yeah. If you or I did that, we would be fired. If anybody else did that apparently working outside of the entertainment industry...
I'm just going to write that down. If I punch my boss in the face, I will be fired.
Yes, it's a good note to have, unless you work in the entertainment industry. So you're in a little bit of a grey area, to be fair.
And I am
working in a video shop.
And I am this week a Z-list celebrity.
Oh, there we go.
Thanks to Twitter, because of that Discworld related thing that's been seen by 36,000 people.
Good for you.
So now I could probably punch you and people would cheer me on.
Well this is entertainment, you see, so it's okay. But that's the point.
Another big plate.
This is where it gets ridiculous because who was it? Was it Maria Miller, the MP? I think she was on the radio and she said, "Oh, you know, if Arsene Wenger's a troublesome player at Arsenal, he has to deal with the personality." Well, he kind of had that in Nicholas Bentner. But Bentner didn't punch anyone, and when Wenger couldn't deal with him anymore, he just sent him off to Juventus. So he kind of dealt with that in a different way. It's like, okay,
that's like
he doesn't fit her in here. Sell him on.
Yeah, that's the most ultimate dad punishment ever. If you do that again, you're off to Juventus.
But that was.
And
it
I'm
was like,
serious.
How can you compare punching someone in the face to not getting on with Nicholas Bentner because he's a bit arrogant? It was just like mind-boggling
bizarre.
stupidity.
It's
But that's the
absolutely
world
bizarre.
we live in, and as you say, oh no, you can't use a torture scene. Oh, and I brought this up before. Mass Effect. You can't have a homosexual relationship. You can fuck a blue alien. You can't have a homosexual relationship. Though.
Yeah, as long as you're the male character,
Yeah.
fucking a blue alien. If you're the female one, then that is wrong.
Well, then, yeah, well, even that wasn't mentioned.
No.
You
No,
can,
it's this
boy
bizarre...
on boy, girl on girl. No,
I said it's
anything on blue. Woof, get in.
when well like that. I tell you what, I don't know if you've seen Smurfs 2.
Hang on, well.
There's a naughties in that,
Right.
which are sort of bad versions of Smurfs. They're not blue,
Yep.
but there's one of them voiced by Christina Ricci.
Okay.
And I did feel a slight attraction to it. And I did feel like, oh, what the hell is wrong with me? Because, frankly, you've got... This is not right. Katy Perry is one as Smurfette, and then Christina Ricci is a naughty Smurf. I'm like, So I'm probably... I blame video games for that. But no, I mean, I have arguments in the shop all the time with customers who want to buy their kids 18-rated games. And I'm going to bring in the next section into this now.
Well, that's a perfect
where
segue.
the police commissioner of Northamptonshire.
Yes.
I didn't keep his name, but I'm going to open the link because it's full of interesting facts about
Bullshit.
Northamptonshire's way of thinking. Where basically this guy, his name is... Where are your names? No, he's now not going to tell me his name because, of course, I should just know his name, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
But he had an online safety conference. Adam Simmons, his name is.
Okay.
So he ran an online safety conference to basically say that children should be protected in a digital age. Now, I don't think it needed a conference because that's been the staple of not just parenting, but the media itself has been somewhat regulatory of it. There are the Byron report that looked at the effects and
They've been
what
I would say the media's been irresponsibly regulatory of it.
Yeah, but
And this is just another example
there's a
of that.
watershed.
Yeah, fine. We've
And
had
they-
that for a very long
Yeah,
time.
and there's Ofcom to look into things and whether it should or
Yeah,
shouldn't
yeah.
happen. So there are...
Oh yeah,
plenty of
no, I'm
things
not
there.
saying it
No.
shouldn't be there. I'm just saying the way a lot of these groups, to generalise, go about it is just bullshit.
Yeah, so they did. Parents and children were asked what they'd kind of seen. So 1 in 4 primary age school children, so that's 4 to 11, had seen something online that upsets them.
Okay.
Now I don't know whether that's just Zayn leading one direction, keeping on trend. Is that his name?
Zayn Malik. I thought he was the bad guy in True Lies, but that was Art Malik.
Yeah,
Easy mistake to make.
It is, yeah. And frankly, I know which one I'd rather see hooked onto a rocket and fired into a building. 5-year-olds, 42% had seen something upsetting, but only 1 in 5 children between 8 and 11.
Okay.
So it is that they're becoming less sensitive to stuff.
Or is it that the 5-year-olds have watched Bambi on iTunes?
That's a possibility. 1 in 10, 11, 15-year-olds have been asked to send explicit images. 1 in 4 have sent inappropriate images of themselves, and that's between 11 and 15. That bothers me.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that anybody can regulate there, other than, here's what I would do. If I'd go, your phone, you're not having a phone.
Yep.
Done. There we go. Now my child cannot do something inappropriate. But no, let's now blame the video game
Let's have a
industry,
conference.
because this is where it starts to come in. So, he said, controversy creates cash. Today's report shows that children as young as 5 are being subject to graphic scenes while playing video games that have left them feeling extremely upset. Many parents may not be fully aware that these games contain such disturbing scenes. It is time for the industry to play a more proactive role in protecting young minds. A new adult-only rating, alongside parental locks on consoles, will better support parents in safeguarding their children. If companies fail to do this, games involving extreme violence or sexual content should be banned altogether. So, first off, there is an 18-rated certificate in existence.
Yes.
Which,
My entire... Do you know, I can probably sum my entire feeling on this entire section of the show in 2 words. Parental responsibility.
yes.
Because, as you just mentioned, there's already an 18 certificate.
Yeah. Did you know that the Xbox 360 has parental control?
Yes.
Does the Xbox One?
To my knowledge, I would assume that they also have
Most
it.
consoles now have parental controls because console manufacturers are already very aware of the risks and the problems.
Exactly.
And have been doing a lot for a long time.
Yep.
Even Nintendo, way back in the day of Mortal Kombat 2, refused to give it the seal of approval until they took the blood out.
Yep.
Because
And we've talked about that before.
companies are incredibly responsible. But at the same time, they're also respectful of an audience that wants to consume the product that they want to consume. You can't base all this 18-rated game shouldn't exist because a 5-year-old might see it. The 5-year-old should not be seeing it.
Yeah.
Now, there are differences here, whereas we both know, and we both have played stuff that we shouldn't have played when we were children.
Yep.
There is nothing wrong. It's part of growing up. As far as I'm concerned, my children have played Grand Theft Auto, but they don't play it like you or I would. They're not doing story-based missions. They're not seeing the seedy underbelly. My youngest sees it like a massive box of Hot Wheels cars. That he can jump in a car, drive around, jump off a bridge, it catch fire, police might chase him, he'll fire some guns and he'll run away. I don't let him play Grand Theft Auto 5. He can play Grand Theft Auto 3 on my iPad or San Andreas on the 360 because they are significantly less realistic. Therefore, it's easier for him to differentiate between real and make-believe. And also, I think with San Andreas, it was less overt in what it was trying to say. There was less casual swearing from characters. But I am always in the room and I'm very careful to watch it. If he ever looks like he's getting a bit too excited, like, oh, I'm going to blow her head off, he'll be off immediately. But it's one of the only adult-rated games I let play because I can't think of many open-world car games that don't have an adult element. That Saints Row is worse than Grand Theft Auto. Crackdown he tried, but you don't really drive the cars as much as you jump around buildings, so he played that like a parkour game, and he likes it. But I struggle to name many more. There was one family-rated one called Planet 51, which was based on the animated film, which was all right, but again it felt like, oh, that's that one for kids. It just felt dumbed down. There's a perfect gap in the market for just an open-world casual game that doesn't have to have some edgy element. But the problem is that does sell. He's right. Controversy creates cash, but actually it's more we want something challenging. For decades, gaming was just a game. We're beyond that now. It's digital media. It's not just, you're not playing something, you're experiencing something. And he's right. You know, I mean, it's hard to sit there and say, well, children shouldn't be protected. Of course they should, but I don't see how. The only one thing I'd like to see change as a retailer, I would like the legal power to refuse sale to an adult who I believe is going to give a game to a child. I would love that power. If I was selling alcohol or cigarettes, I have that power. With video games, it's an age-classified product. I can't refuse sale. So if you came in with Annabelle, I'm allowed to assume she's a little bit older enough to walk around and go, I want this. And
she's old enough to do that now. She's 3. And
an 18-rated game, not just a handful of pickup mix. But say she brought up Noir. I've had this where a 6-year-old kid who was in the same class as my child brought Noir up to the counter, and I said, I can't sell you that. And the dad went, well, I'm buying it. And I said, well, I'm not going to sell it to you because that game is not suitable for your child. And he really launched into me and put a complaint into Blockbusters when I was still working for him. Because as far as he was concerned, it wasn't my place to tell him what his child should or shouldn't play. Legally, kind of is. Because if I'd have just sold it to the child, that's an offence. But because I can give it to him, who can then pass it straight to the kid. And that happens so many times where I go, look, legally, I have to give this to you. And then they just go, there you go. What point is that protecting anybody? Like the parent is fine. I mean, if that's the parent's choice. But this I'm not going. I don't
exactly. This is the point I'm trying to make. Why have they had a conference? Why is there all this bullshit? It's just buzzwords. It's just sound bites because the powers or the ability to clamp down on this stuff is kind of there. It's got an 18 certificate. It's called parental responsibility, as I've already said. You know, I completely take your point as a retailer with what you're saying, and I kind of agree with what you're saying. Exactly, because you can do it with
He's not suggested
alcohol.
this.
Exactly.
That's the
You know,
weird bit. Like,
you can do it with alcohol, you can do it with cigarettes. But
Yeah.
it's like, what? And it's just... It
I mean, if
makes
you-
my brain hurt. It's like it's an easy target
oh, it is.
for people like this. As I said, to get an easy soundbite, which will get a lot of middle-class people who don't really understand what's going on to go, I
I'm now
agree.
going to show you these are pictures from the actual conference. You tell me how many of these people look like they have any idea about the digital age whatsoever. I mean, this guy's turned up in knitwear. That guy's wearing a tie.
Well, he looks like he might have a vague idea.
Yeah, and he doesn't look impressed.
No.
Right? The point is, all these people would agree that, yes, we've got to protect children, because it's the sort of thing that nobody could disagree with. But the problem is,
But nobody is disagreeing with that.
I do
Nobody's
disagree
disagreeing with the principle of what he's saying.
utilising this as a platform.
Yeah.
When there are games, as we've discussed, that do warrant...
See, I'm sorry, but just reading, you've read some of these points out from the book. 1 in 4 primary school age children have seen something online that has upset them. This is my point. It could be fucking Bambi.
Yeah.
It could be the scene where
But also,
Santa.
this is 1 in 4 primary school age children who have had unfiltered access to the internet.
Again,
Parental responsibility.
thank you.
It comes down to it. But also, you know, my partner's daughter, when she browses a Google Play Store, if she sees the icon for some sort of game that's a bit creepy, that bothers her, that scares her a little bit. It's just a store listing.
Yeah.
And so we actually went in, and I went into the system. She had like a little kind of play tablet thing, and we actually set it so it would only display apps relevant to her age group. Not a problem anymore. That was us as responsible adults saying, "Oh, we don't want our child seeing that. Not my child, but as general adults, don't want that to affect a child. We'll remove that, of course." If we couldn't have removed it because we basically did it and then went to the store and tried to search for games that she'd seen, none of them would show up. I'm like, well, there you go. That's problem solved. The adverts that associate target by the age group. So then she wasn't seeing adverts for games that weren't suitable. Same as if you go and see a kids film, you won't see an 18-rated advert for Saw. Because there's an appropriateness there that they do follow.
And they even tailor certain trailers to the feature film.
Yeah.
So if it's a 15 feature film, the trailer will be 15 suitable.
We watched the trailer for the new Arnold Schwarzenegger zombie film, which came up as PG-13. And I was like, what? And then realised it was just the trailer was PG-13, and the film looks amazingly good.
It
I can't
does.
remember what it's called.
Maggie, wasn't it? Yep.
But that
does look good.
I think we both could say we were very sceptical that Arnold Schwarzenegger
in a zombie film
because it kind of looks a bit like it's definitely Walking Dead inspired.
Yeah, you can
It kind
see
of
the
for me. The idea of a father trying to protect his daughter who's being infected is a lot like the governor's story.
Yeah.
But Arnold Schwarzenegger as the governor kind of character could be quite good. But I digress again. But this is the point. Like, of all of his suggestions, 90% of it already has a solution.
Yep.
Whether it's parental control, whether it's the consoles have already got these facilities. The only thing I think an 18-rated game could do is maybe automatically trigger a check. Like Netflix, you can do a thing where it will lock Netflix, so you have to put a pin in. You could just do that.
Sky Movies is like that as well.
Yeah. So if you put an 18-rated game in, the console could recognise an 18-rated game and it could just go to an age game. iPlayer does the same thing. And you could do it, and it could be a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Like you put that pin number in, then it's open to play. So, I mean, that could be a thing, but that's already kind of a thing.
Yeah.
If 360, if you put an age-rated game in and you've locked it, you have to put the pin in to continue. But maybe there's a way that actually puts on by default as opposed to by option. Because then some parents who don't understand that, then their kid will put an 18-rated game in, it will come up with a warning that could say something like, this game continues.
See, I have an issue with stuff just being on by default. Because again, I think you're just removing people's responsibility. And the problem is with if you do that, for companies, you know, you won't find a huge amount of sympathy from me for big corporations.
No.
But let's just say if in one 360, for whatever reason, it's not on.
Right.
And so little Johnny gets to play Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, my little Johnny, he was allowed to play his 18-rated game on his console, which should have stopped him from playing that by default. And nasty Microsoft. And it's like, it's not Microsoft's fault. Your son's got his hands on an 18-rated game, you prick.
No. But that's already a situation we're in, where parents are blaming the games for their child's behaviour. when they.
But that's what I mean. But
responsible.
you're basically just removing another layer of
Well, what I'm
responsibility.
saying is, if say it came up with a content warning, so like you have on the back of a BBFC rating,
You've
where
got
it
that
says
on the
this
box
contains-
already. It's called the 18 rated.
But if it came up and said, say like you put in Spec Ops: The Line, which Dalek talks about. Now I don't know if you've played that game, but
I haven't.
by God, it is got some grim stuff in it. If that said, this contains the following, this, and this, I dare say some parents, when faced with it in written form, would think twice.
Yeah. Would they even look at it? Or are they just going to give little Johnny the disc? In it goes.
But that's the thing. Like there has to
and
be a
then they
point
walk in
where
on him blowing the hell out of him.
How do you educate parents better? Because the fact is, most people don't want to be told. They don't want to be told.
No, but
that
you
it's not
don't
suitable.
put out irresponsible reports and conferences like this.
No.
Because
No.
that is just... It's irresponsible. I'll use the same word twice in the space of 30 seconds.
That's
It's
irresponsible. of you.
Yeah, well, it is. It's just irresponsible. It's scaremongering.
Right, find a new word. I'm going to get
Scaremongering. Scaremongering. Because it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, it's, the bit that worries me is where he was saying that if companies don't put age ratings on games properly, they should be banned. Well, firstly, those that don't have a classification are banned, so that's good. Secondly, what? It's just, I mean, like we said, the most offensive games I've ever found when I've been researching articles have been ones that don't have classification. You can't walk into a shop and buy. Most of the shops, the games you find on store shelves, may have questionable content, but it has gone through a very stringent and vetted stage.
Yeah.
You know, you look at The Punisher, and I said it's comic book violence, it had an 18 certificate, but they still insisted on it being tamed down a bit, which is fine. I have no objection to that. I don't like censorship, but I understand that if there's a trade body that says that is unacceptable, then fine. Maybe I'll import it from abroad. South Park, Stick of Truth, that had the alien probe stuff removed from the European versions, and loads of websites were selling versions that had it unblocked. That's fine. It wasn't as funny as the bit they put in to tell you couldn't see this scene and just described it.
Yeah.
The makers of that game used what was a limitation to then make another joke in what was already a funny game. So, yeah, this just shows a remarkable lack of knowledge of an industry. It's based everything on the findings of this study, and seems to have done very little.
wishy-washy.
Talking to parents and primary school children. Primary school children are not going to give you an in-depth insight into anything, and parents generally are worried about things. They don't want their kids being frightened online, or they fear that their kids might send something inappropriate. You know, unfortunately, the sort of parents who would have filled this in are not the ones to worry about. They're not the ones. They're not the three. They're the 3 in 4. Yeah. They're the ones that would go to conferences. They're the ones that would be careful of what their phones have.
See, I'm just again reading a bit more of this.
Yeah.
The Northamptonshire Police and Crime Commission conducted online surveys and held workshops for 13,000 parents and children aged 5 to 18 across Northamptonshire with the aim of understanding online safety issues, perceptions and experiences of children and young people. Genuine question. What kind of person really fills out these online surveys?
Yeah.
I would say it's quite a narrow cross-section.
Yeah.
I'm not belittling or building these people either way, but I would say, I'm going to say it's going to be a certain cross-section of people who will take the time to fill that out.
Yeah.
So you have a representation of that cross-section.
And what you have is then people who are worried about things.
Yep.
Because
so you've got a narrow view of the community.
Yep.
Plus, as I've already said, you've got these very wishy-washy kind of 1 in 4 find this scary.
Exactly.
Well, I'm pretty sure if my daughter saw a spider on the telly, she'd be scared by it. Does that mean...
Well, I watched Ghostbusters when that statue came to life. I was scared by it. That was a PG. That's fucking scary.
But this is what I mean. So, like, ooh, you know, so of our 4 children, 1 of them found the spider on the telly scary. 25% of children find spiders on telly scary. What?
Reasonable. But what you're saying about this point is it's the same argument I had about when the local elections were held. I don't know if you were in the same. I think you were the next
I'm in a
voting
different
area over from when I was.
district.
Obviously, now I was in a different town. But the winner got 12% of the vote.
Yep.
And the turnout was 18%.
Yep.
So we got 12% of 18%.
Major issue I have with.
And then you think,
political
I'm
voting
glad
in
that you're representing the majority of people there, because that's like
the
700 people of 3,000.
Former leader of the district council in his constituency had less than 1,000 votes, but that was sufficient to win his constituency.
Exactly. And that's,
so basically, he was one of the most powerful men in the area,
yeah,
based on about 800 people.
Yeah, and most of which were always going to be supporting somebody of that party, regardless of the person. And that's what this does: is you've got figures that are already from a pool we're always
ambiguous.
Are always going to give you that kind of answer. Yeah. Whenever my school that I was a governor at had a survey, like if you went in and you're just asking for a newsletter, they would say, "Would you mind filling in this survey?" And the questions would be, "Are you happy with how the school is? Do you think behaviour is good?" You could guarantee if you gave out 100 of those, 99 of them would be all yes.
Yeah,
because people think, "Yeah, no, fine." Yeah, because the people who would go into the school to ask for something or to discuss something are already in the school.
Yeah,
it's the people who their kids walk home on their own. They're the people that we should be talking to. They're the people who need the support and the advice and the information. And the bit where it says about people, the schools need tools to educate the children.
Yeah,
my kids have had 6 safety on the internet.
Yeah,
assemblies and talks and studies. They know the stuff. The fact that 1 in 4 has sent an inappropriate message is nothing to do with a lack of education.
Yeah,
it's to do with that they were a bit curious and sent an image, and that's part of growing up. It's scary. I wouldn't want to think of my children doing it.
Yeah,
but
so
I
that's
know
a symptom of the digital age.
Not just the digital age, I don't think. I mean, I know
I think
kids.
when we were 15, the ability
I know
to
kids. When I was at primary school, I knew a girl who would show her bits to you for a couple of Smarties. That curiosity thing. All this is
so
instead of standing
the
behind a tree.
methodology has changed to put it probably quite poorly. But
well, that's basically it. Now, instead of standing behind a tree with some Smarties in your hand, now you can just go
on your phone with your Smarties in your hand.
Jump onto Fling and go, hey. but that's the point. Like it's not going to make you suddenly go, oh, take my tits out. You've got to want to do that before you do it. And obviously, if you're encouraged to do it or you're coerced to do it, that's very wrong.
Yeah.
But a lot of teenagers aren't. A lot of teenagers just do it because they feel peer pressure or they feel that that's something they should be doing. But you can't educate them against that because that's like saying, well, you tell people not to have a fight in the playground. People still have fights in the playground.
Yeah.
You can tell people not to steal, but people still steal. The more you tell people stuff they shouldn't do, some people would never even thought about it until they were told not to do it.
And you've put the idea in their head.
Yeah. That was a big argument against sex education in schools. That they were worried if you told children how to have safe sex, then more children would have sex. Because they didn't even need to think about it until then. They don't need that education. But then teenage pregnancies worried people, and we've got the lowest teen pregnancy rates now than ever because of better and earlier intervention with sex education. So it's that kind of double-edged sword where the worry is if you highlight a problem, you illustrate the problem. And it's true, it's exactly true. The amount of people who complain about something after the effect. Yeah. Like the people who complain about Jerry Springer the Opera, who never even knew about it until they heard about the controversy and then complained about it.
Was it the Russell Brand phone calls, Andrew Sachs?
Yeah, yeah.
How many people actually listened to that show who complained?
And then suddenly it was like, hang on a minute, that's Manuel from Fawlty Towers. Down with this sort of thing. Careful now. And, it's that situation where people they suddenly go, oh, that's unacceptable. No, you can't do these things.
Court of public opinion.
And that's what this is. This is somebody saying, look, I think it's unacceptable that our children are exposed to things on the internet. Well, it is. It is unacceptable. But like we talked about with, did I talk to you about it with Xbox 360, the Uno game with the live vision camera, where people basically jack themselves off on camera. There is people, Microsoft hires people to go into rooms as a female, and if people get a lot of aggression, or those people will be banned. They kind of use them as like a honey trap. Yeah. Well, you shouldn't have to have that to wheedle out these people. But how else can you do it? Like, the only way you'll catch people doing something is to put a situation where they can be evidence seen they're doing something. If I sent a report and said, Rob showed me his penis on the internet. Well, what do you mean? Well, I was on a game. Well, they don't record all that. Yeah. So it's then my word against yours. Whereas if an employee sees it, and it happens, there's people, Samaritans and Childline staff members very often go into things like Habbo Hotel when it was a big thing. Yeah. And make sure they're around, so if they see people talking, they can sort of intervene a little bit and go, well, you shouldn't really be doing that. Have you thought about checking this or checking that? And Second Life, when people were like, got married in Second Life, well, Yeah, fair enough. But some people saw that as a massive risk. Like, oh, this could be a 45-year-old man and my daughter's married to. It's not real life, mate.
Yeah.
Is she going to meet him? Yeah. Stop her from meeting him.
Yeah.
Tell her that's wrong. I mean, it's these weird things that, like I say, because it's something that you can prey upon easily. And like you say, it's a vote winner. We've got an election coming up. The police commissioner, elections must be coming up as well. Because we had Graham, didn't we? It was about 3 years ago.
Yeah, probably
so
about that, yeah.
It's a good platform to go, I'm trying to do something. Maybe he's also got some sort of political affiliation as well, and that could be pushing through. It's, yeah. But, you know, like I said, the one suggestion they could do is actually make it a legal power to refuse sale to the right people. Like I said, I couldn't stop. If you came in on your own and I sold you a game and you then give that to your child, that's your failing. But as a retailer, I'd like the power to be able to go, no, I'm not selling you that game for you to give to your child because this isn't appropriate for your child.
Yeah.
The law states so. I can't do any more about it. And that would be great. But, you know, and I dare say there'd probably be 16-year-olds listening to this going, oh, piss off. I'm never going to be able to play an AO game. Well, you can, because your parents probably understand that you're mature enough to do so. Yeah. It's not about that. It's about putting some sort of thing in place to say, I haven't just brought my older friend to come in and buy a game for me. Because, like I said, if I was selling cigarettes and did that, I'd go to prison. Or at the very least have a massive fine and like a custodial sentence hanging over me. And whereas this is, I can just go, oh, you really want this 18-rate game? I can't sell it to you, but I can sell it to him. If he gives it to you, that's okay. How is that okay? Yeah. It's the most irresponsible retailer point of view there is.
Yeah, for sure.
And yet I've got no legal powers. So if they want to, they can force me to sell it. Which is even crazier. Yeah. It's like going, yeah, well, I really want these cigarettes for that child.
Maybe we should have a conference about this.
I don't think we should. But I have contacted this guy through his press office. Through Twitter, actually, which is kind of the same
like
thing.
Press office.
But if I don't hear if I will go through his press office as well.
1 out of 1 press officer found your tone offensive.
See if he will basically talk to me at all. I mean, he might come onto Skype and talk about that. That'd be good. If not, I might just send him some questions and ask if he can respond to them. But if we get something, then it will make an article. Yep. If we don't, he clearly knows he's wrong. So, up yours, Andrew Simmons. We're better than you. Yeah. But no. But
it'd be good. To be honest, having these conferences is all very well, but it actually would be good if he would engage with, not being rude to the people at this conference, but probably somebody slightly closer to the subject, because you said it's something you sell.
Yeah,
as a job.
It's
also a hobby
and a retailer, and it's my big interest.
Yeah,
like from all 3 areas, I've got it covered. And the thing is, I don't let my kids play everything. There's a lot of games that I won't even play with the children nearby. Yeah. I don't know if you played the Telltale's Fables games.
I haven't. No.
Well, I wouldn't even play that with the children because I've read the books. I know the content of those. Okay, it might be fairy tale characters, but no, that's not acceptable.
So that's not the appropriate tone.
No, and so that's, for me, I mean, I dare say Game of Thrones is probably similar in terms of tone to the series. You won't necessarily play that in front of a kid. But that's me knowing the product. Sometimes I get caught out. I did get caught out by God of War. The remastered version, because I never played it. I didn't realise there was full frontal nudity as it was. And so I was playing it. And the kids like Greek mythology. So it's like, brilliant, like we're fighting monsters and Hydra. And it went into the show and I was like, whoa, turn that off. Like, okay, fine, you know what boobs are, but this is a game. I don't want you seeing this necessarily. And again, that comes down to I should have probably looked into it more before sitting down. But it was, they just watched the Percy Jackson film. They wanted to play a game like that, and I didn't have anything else in my collection. I got it was. I thought, well, I'll play it. They can watch because it's quite fiddly, and so that's what it comes down to. So, like I said, if we get anything back from them, then great. If not, and you've got a view on this, feel free to drop us a message. You can do so. Look at this, straight into the last bit. Hello, so good. You can do so via the website, which we've made some changes to this week. Not massive ones. Just enough to sort of make it easier. There's now a big email button, so you can click on the envelope that was terribly put on there with a big whiteboard around it, because I had to put one on there because somebody asked us for a link on the site. So I thought, well, I'll put something. I
apologise. I thought I'd put a link on, but that's an error on my part, which we have now corrected.
I'm just quite pleased that I managed to make a working link to an email mail to address. I was quite pleased with myself. When I opened up the Outlook thing, I was like, I don't use Outlook, what's that use? But then, of course, I realised what my automatic thing was. So you can use that. We have had a couple of emails this week, which have been good. You can also drop comments on any article. So if you've seen my review of Dark Echo, or you've watched Mark and Dalek's Tubeblockers, and you want to join in the conversation, do so. You can also tweet at us directly. We are Lolocaust.
Instead of the word
They know that by now. They're brilliant people. You can follow me at Bouncy with an H after the second B. Oh, jumping over my staple bit.
Jumping over your H.
Jesus.
And you can follow me at Rob McGregor35.
Yeah, you find Mark at XBLA Silicam and Dalek at the Voice of Sex. Email us, obviously, if you don't want to go to the website, which you should, is wearelolocaust@gmail.com. Obviously, we've had a couple of reviews as well this week on iTunes, which were great.
Yep.
If you do that, there are links to iTunes and Stitcher, I believe, now through the website as well.
Yep.
So you can find it there. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to the... oh, Christ, I can't remember what they're called now. I think it's Player 2 podcast. I can't remember now. I've been listening to it yesterday, and I very much enjoyed it, so I better... Player 2 cast, it's called. They basically mostly board games related stuff. And they're very, very good. They've just started up. They've joined into Kevin Steve's Geek Hawk Radio thing, so hopefully that'll give them a bit of exposure as well. But they're based, I think they're based in St Ives actually. So maybe if I go for that job interview, I'll knock on their door and go, hello.
Do any of them have 7 wives?
Well, there's a couple, male and female couple. So he might have another 6 wives smuggled away. I think it's Ian and Nikki, I think their names are. But they seem very, very nice, and they're new to it. And do you know what's amazing about it? It's a couple who argue, but it's not annoying. You know, like sometimes when you hear a couple argue on a podcast, it can be really tedious. Theirs just seems quite funny. And it's quite nice to listen to. So yeah, just as a little recommendation, go and have a look at the Player 2 cast. They're on Twitter at Player 2 cast, I do believe. I'm just checking. Yep. So yeah, go and follow them, give them a listen. We will be back next week for episode 14. Oh, exciting!
It is
exciting time. Did you see, as while they are all going, the McDonald's are doing a whole range of wallpaper and clothing?
Let's not put ourselves through that again.
Big Mac wallpaper.
Jesus. I'm going home.
Taking
home. My laptop and I'm going home.
The worry is there's T-shirts where Big Macs might line up with a woman's breast, and I might lick them if I'm drunk and think, like when you go to a kebab shop after like a night out, and it's like, I could kill a kebab, and then you look at those pictures and you do think like, I'll just eat that picture.
You should stay away from that crack and rum.
I should just stay away from the crack and run. We'll see you next week, boys and girls. Enjoy your week, and remember, Tubeblockers will be on the website on Sunday.